Life is funny that
No, I feel slighted. L'chaim, guys. It doesn't matter if it's vodka or whiskey. The main thing is today it's Yud Shevat. It's a very holy day, very special day, and we have to utilize every moment of it to connect to the Rebbe, to strengthen ourselves spiritually. So l'chaim, l'chaim. And vodka works just fine. Start with the nigun. It's the outside of the Farbrengen Rebbe, so it's customary to sing the nigun of the Farbrengen Rebbe. As you know, that every Rebbe had their nigun, their special nigun. Most of the Rebbeim of Chabad had more than one nigun, but every Rebbe had a special nigun that is sort of like their anthem, let's say. And the Rebbe says that when you sing a nigun of a Rebbe, his neshama comes into the place where you sing it. He, so to speak, sings along with you. Just like it says in the Talmud that whenever you say the words of Torah of a tzaddik, his lips move in the grave. Oh, that's the Rabbi calling me about the whiskey. Yes, Rabbi. Yes. Don't worry, I was only joking. No, we're good. I drink vodka. It was a joke. I'm from California. We have a sense of humor. Where you come from, people are very serious, and don't. I'm just joking. Don't worry. Seriously.
That's because California is a joke.
But I see there's only one bottle here. Do you have another bottle maybe for later?
While I have you on the phone.
All right. Someone asked for wine though. There's a request, not me. All right. Come Farbrengen with us. Don't worry about the.
Just to show you.
He's South African. Where's he from? Rabbi
South
Diamond.
Africa.
This
Yeah,
is
they
my
have no sense of
in-laws'
humor there.
graves right in front of the Rebbe.
Oh wow,
in
that's
Brooklyn. My
and
kids
they have
just sent
almost
it
the
to
same
me.
last name as me.
What's your last name?
Well, it's also Shaffier, but it's spelled differently.
Oh,
Wow.
my kids were there today.
Look
and
at
they
that,
just sent
an old
that to
Montefiore.
me.
Wow. Unbelievable. So every Rebbe has a nigun, and the nigun of the Farbrengen Rebbe, the sixth Rebbe whose yard site is tonight, Yud Shevat. It's called the Benoni. So we'll sing it together and invite the Farbrengen Rebbe into the room to join us and inspire us. Yada ya yada la 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 yada mo yana mo ayam aya ya ya yada la la hey la 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 Guys, you have to say L'chaim. Who didn't get yet?
I did, but I wouldn't mind another.
As someone they invite here to come for Farbrengen, I'm telling you, make it much easier for me if everyone has a L'chaim.
You want
Just
one?
a little bit. A little bit.
If you guys are all sober, you're gonna pay attention to what I say. Otherwise, the mashka does the talking for me.
Can I say a word before you? And once you
Please,
get going,
please.
So I was coming back from UK, England, and it was, it's winter, and when you got to wait for a certain time of day before you can, before I left home it was too early to happen.
It's always winter there, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about now. So look, I'm going to daven in the airport. I'm going to daven in the airport. Where I'm going to go daven, that's up to me, right? They've got a place which is called Stansted London, and it's got a multi-faith
Chapel.
chapel.
Yeah.
So who are you going to find there? Who?
Muslims.
Who? Yeah, that's right.
It's all Muslims.
It's nearly all Muslim. You go in there and you'll see the mats out, and you'll see the kibbutz, and you can smell the socks as well, as you can imagine. And I thought, stop. This is the first thing you've got to think of. Why is this world here? Why is it created? Voracious. Base voracious. For the Jews and the Torah. They're only here because of us. They wouldn't exist if I wasn't here. Why should I be embarrassed? And then go on. What they're going to think, what they're going to think. There was one guy there sitting in the corner, and I know he's a young guy. I just don't think he liked me. But I don't care. I've got a job to do. And my tefillin are going to give a message. My tefillin are going to give a message. I'm a Jew, and I'm proud to be Jew. I'm going to go out.
Goin Yaakov, the pride of Yaakov.
You made it out alive. We see you made it
There's
out
nothing
alive.
he could do. He couldn't stop me. And there's a pachad from those tefillin. When you put the tefillin on, they're not going to do anything. They're scared. They're meant to scare you if you're not a Jew. I remember I was told once, you had to damn what I did scare. I was told somebody was scared for my tefillin. So yeah, so
That's what it says.
and that's what it's for.
The Yorim Mecca.
Yeah. So we just go, and that's my Lubavitch yourself.
Oh.
Going out there, and whatever needs to be done, you just do it, and you
Yeah,
be
fair.
proud.
Chaim Chassidus applied. Chaim.
You start talking about Muslims and mosques and prayer chapels. And of course everyone here in Yerushalayim is on guard now because of recent events. But in 1929, the Friedrich Rebbe was actually here in Yerushalayim. The Friedrich Rebbe was there that we're celebrating tonight. He was here in Yerushalayim. He was here in Rechavia, just around the corner,
Wow.
Yeah, I know
Friedrich
that.
Rebbe was on Ibn Ezra Street.
Wow.
If you know the house called Beit Chavatzelet, it was the house of Gad Farbrengen, who was a high court justice under the British mandate for Palestine. And he was a son of a chassid of the Rebbe Rasha. And he came to visit the Rebbe, so the Rebbe returned him a visit in his house on Ibn Ezra Street. So when the Friedrich Rebbe came here, there were Arab riots going on. And actually, 11 days after the Friedrich Rebbe was in Hebron, was the Hebron massacre.
Wow.
So that's the context when the Friedrich Rebbe was here. And when Frierdiker Rebbe wanted to go down to Kosovo, they told him it's better not to go. There's riots going on. It could be dangerous. Frierdiker Rebbe wouldn't hear anything of it. He said, I'm going, and that's it. And of course, this was just after he fought the communists. He was in prison. He was exiled to Kostroma. We all know the holiday of Yud Beis Tammuz that he probably had a Farbrengen in the summer of the release of the Frierdiker Rebbe from prison, from exile, and he came here to Eretz Yisrael as a hero. Everybody, keep in mind, this is 1929. This is during the British Mandate. This is before the establishment of the state, and it's when there were a lot of secular Zionist people in Yerushalayim, a lot of philosophers, scientists. Not necessarily the most Haredi people in the world, and nevertheless, when the Frierdiker Rebbe arrived here, it was seen as a big event for the Jewish community in Israel and in Yerushalayim. And thousands, tens of thousands came out to see him. He arrived at the train station. The old train station where they have all the cafes and the restaurants today. He arrived over there.
Yeah.
Tachana Rishona.
He got off the train, saw for the first time in his life Yerushalayim. And when he got to a place where he could see the old city, if you go up on the hill next to there, it's called Givat HaTanach. You can see the old city over there. So as soon as he saw the old city, he tore his garments and made the bracha and tore his garments. Anyways, during his entire trip here, thousands and tens of thousands of people came out when he was at the train station, when he came to the old city. He said a mimer on Shabbos on Ben Yehuda Street. There used to be a hotel there called Amdorsky Hotel. It isn't there anymore. The Frierdiker Rebbe went on the balcony on Shabbos and said a mimer, and thousands of people came out on Shabbos
This is on Ben
to hear the
Yehuda
mimer, Ben Yehuda Street. Thousands of people came out to hear the mimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Not just from people, everybody. People who had no overt connection to Yiddishkeit already, who had renounced any overt connection to traditional Yiddishkeit, right? But they came because they saw the Frierdiker Rebbe as a nationalist leader, let's say, because he fought for Jewish rights in the Soviet Union, and he was imprisoned, and he stood his ground and refused to back down. And so even those who were not so religious, they saw him as a hero of the Jewish people. When he came to Hebron, he left from Yerushalayim, and a caravan of hundreds of vehicles followed him to Hebron. Thousands of people. And he arrived at Marsa Machpelah there, and he was the first Jew who was allowed to enter Marsa Machpelah for hundreds of years. It was such a big deal that he arrived. The rabbi of the Jews of the whole world was how they talked about him at that time. That they arranged a special exception for him to enter into Marsa Machpelah.
Wow.
And he didn't daven there, he just went in and looked around and had a tour, and then he came out and he davened at the seventh step. If you know Marsa Machpelah, outside the Marsa Machpelah, you have the wall there where it's all black from candles and everything, where the Muslims used to allow the Jews to pray. That was the closest they could get. They weren't allowed to enter into the building. So the Frierdiker Rebbe went in, he went on a tour, and he came out, he davened mincha over there at the seventh step. And there were thousands of people there. The Frierdiker Rebbe davened a weekday mincha with the tune of Yom Kippur. And it was a big event. Jews came out everywhere. The train stopped even on the way to Yerushalayim. It stopped by the Arab village of Batir, where Beitar was. And there, more people came. Everywhere he went, everywhere he stopped, there were thousands of people. Thousands of people waiting for him. The Frierdiker Rebbe even wrote in his diary that he had to stop himself from getting like a feeling of gaiva from all the attention he was getting. He had to suppress it, like remember that it's not about him, that it's about Elokus. So the Frierdiker Rebbe was here in Yerushalayim. So I was trying to figure out why I was invited to Farbrengen over here. Rabbi Diamond, Rabbi Goldberg. I'm not a mashpia, I'm not a rabbi, I'm a tour guide. That's what I do for a living, I'm a tour guide. So then I realized that someone wanted to give me the schus to come to Rechavia where the Frierdiker Rebbe was on Yud Shevat. But if I didn't come, none of you would even know. You needed a tour guide to tell you that where you are here on Yud Shevat, you get to be for bringing a place just a few hundred meters. Maybe the Frierdiker Rebbe walked, he probably did walk past here because King George Street existed, and to get to Ibn Ezra, he would have come down King George, then turned maybe at Ramban, and then to Ibn Ezra or something like that. Those are streets that were here then. So the Frierdiker Rebbe was here, and you should know then, when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to Yerushalayim, and he saw the walls of the old city, he tore Kriya. And someone sort of questioned whether we still tear Kriya today, tear our garment in mourning, when after all, Jews are returning to Eretz Yisrael. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said, when you see Yerushalayim without the Beis Hamikdash not rebuilt, you have to tear Kriya. And now that they built theaters and other things, maybe you have to tear Kriya twice. The Frierdiker Rebbe said. In other words, it's built up, it doesn't make it necessarily better. What makes it better is when it's built up with Torah and mitzvahs, with yeshivas, ultimately with the Beis Hamikdash makes it better. But just to fact that there's all kinds of structures in Yerushalayim doesn't necessarily mean you don't tear Kriya, maybe just the opposite. But imagine if the Frierdiker Rebbe would see here, that in the very place where he was, he came here to visit the son of one of his chassidim, who was no longer, I don't know what mitzvahs he kept or didn't, but let's say he's not known as a frum Jew. And he went in his house and everything, and I imagine it wasn't easy for the Rebbe to go into the home of the son of one of his father's chassidim, and to see him not necessarily keeping Torah. Imagine if you would see today over here, there's a Chabad house, just a few hundred feet or meters away from where he was, where they're holding a Farbrengen on his yahrzeit. So l'chaim, l'chaim. I'm sure the Frierdiker Rebbe who is here with us at the Farbrengen gets lots of nachas from seeing it. L'chaim.
There was Chabad here. There was a Tzemach shul in the old city. There was an area of Chabad.
Yeah, the Frierdiker Rebbe went to the Tzemach Tzedek shul in the old city.
There's a
But
shul in
Rechavia was the
Hebron called the Alter Rebbe shul.
The Mitzvah Rebbe shul next to the Avram Avinu. I was there yesterday. I was there yesterday. Yeah. But Rechavia was the place of the enlightened, of the maskilim, of the people who want to make the new Judaism that's not based on Torah and mitzvahs, but rather based on progress, science, philosophy, Hebrew language, history, and things like that, not on simple faith, simple observance of Torah mitzvahs. But today, Baruch Hashem, Rechavia looks like Mei Sharim. You walk around, everyone's got black hats and tzitzis and everything.
Not quite.
Not quite, but it's going in that direction every day. Every day that goes by, it's more and more becoming a religious neighborhood.
There's more English here.
More English, is that why? Uh-huh. So l'chaim, l'chaim. What nigun are we singing, Rabbi? What do the guys know here? That's the wrong one.
So what was the main reason the Frierdiker Rebbe came?
I mixed my water on my vodka, that's the problem.
Rabbi?
Why did the Frierdiker Rebbe come?
Yeah.
I'm here. So, it's a very interesting question, and it's a good segue into what I want to bring with you guys about a little bit. Chaim. The Frierdiker Rebbe, he wrote a letter saying why he came to Eretz Yisrael. He said he came to Eretz Yisrael for a very simple, what seems to be a very simple reason, which is it was his custom from time to time, and especially in times of difficulty, to go pray at the graves of his father, grandfather, his ancestors in Yezhin, in Liozna, in Chadich rather, the tombs in Lubavitch, tombs of the previous Rebbes, the Alter Rebbe, the Mitzvah Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, and so on.
Yeah.
And of course, 1929 was a time of a lot of difficulty, and we know that very quickly a lot more difficulty came for the Jewish people. And of course, as the tzaddik, as the Nasi Ador, the Frierdiker Rebbe, not only felt acutely what was going on, but he also certainly had a sense of what was coming. He wanted to go pray at the tombs of his ancestors, but because he now could not enter Russia, because he ran away from the communists, or left the communists in any case. A tzaddik doesn't run away from anything, but he had to leave the control of the communists. He couldn't go there, so he decided that instead he's going to pray at the tombs of our ancestors in Maris Machpelah, in Meron, in the Kivrei Tzadikim, in the Galilee, in Hebron, in Yerushalayim, and so on and so forth.
And also, does that count?
Well, he spoke about praying at the tombs of the ancestors and the tzaddikim and the tanoim, the amoraim, in order to be Ma'or Rachamim on Am Yisrael. That was his stated mission. But we know that right after that he also went to America. And some have suggested that the Frierdiker Rebbe was actually considering, because after this the Frierdiker Rebbe moved Chabad Lubavitch out of Russia, he moved it ultimately to New York, right?
Yes.
And some have suggested the Frierdiker Rebbe for a moment considered the possibility of moving it to Eretz Yisrael. Because after all, there was such a movement coming of people coming from all over the world. Some have suggested he considered moving to Eretz Yisrael, and so he came to Eretz Yisrael and then went to America to compare and contrast and make his final decision. And we know what he decided. He decided to move to America. And let's just entertain for a moment the possibility that that's true, that the Frierdiker Rebbe was considering it. And even if that's not the reason he came, but certainly it was a possibility. After all, many Hasidic movements that left Europe came to Eretz Yisrael. That's why you have all the Tishes and Me'asharim and everything, right? And Lubavitch was one that went to America. The question is, why did Lubavitch go to America? Why didn't it come to Eretz Yisrael? Wouldn't it be nice if all these years the Rebbe was here in Yerushalayim, and instead of having to leave Eretz HaKodesh to go to the kever of the Rebbe in America, or to go to 770
Yeah,
We
yeah.
could have it here in Eretz Yisrael. Wouldn't it be nice, right? So that's the question. And the answer to that question is the whole theme of Yud Shevat, actually. Chaim Ochan.
Chaim.
It's the theme of Yud Shevat because, as we know, I'm sure most of you, I'm going to be repeating things that you've all heard 1,000 times, but if we don't say them, then even though now we remember, eventually we'll forget. If we don't repeat all the time, we'll forget eventually. And then there's always one or two who are hearing it for the first time, and it's worth it for that as well. The Frierdiker Rebbe in his last years, after he moved to America, he wasn't well. After all, he was beaten by the communists. If you read his account of his imprisonment, the one time they threw him down the stairs, they wouldn't let him put on tefillin. He had tefillin hidden in his jacket, and so while they were dragging him up the stairs, he pulled the tefillin out and started putting it on. So the soldier hit him and knocked him down the stairs. He went rolling down. He picked up his tefillin and started putting it on again until he pulled it away from him. And so, anyways, he was beaten. He was starved. He was treated very harshly by the Soviets in prison, and he wasn't a young man. And by the time he came to America, it was difficult for him to walk, and very quickly he found himself in a wheelchair, and very quickly he couldn't speak well. So the Frierdiker Rebbe, instead of saying the Maimarim, what he started doing is he started writing the Maimarim of Chassidus that he wanted the people to study and distributing them. And they would be given out in these little pamphlets, maybe 2, 3, 4 Maimarim for a span of a few weeks for the Chassidim to learn for the different occasions. And once he's writing them, he wrote them ahead of time, so there are Maimarim of the Frierdiker Rebbe going up to several months after he passed away. You take out the Sefer Maimarim of Tafshin Yud, the year that the Frierdiker Rebbe passed away, and he passed away on Yud Shevat, then there's a Maimar of Purim, then there's a Maimar of Pesach, all the way into, I think, Shavuos is the last Maimar of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And you say, hold on, how did he write after he passed away? No, he wrote already several months in advance. And the Maimar that he issued, he gave out a pamphlet that went from the 10th of Shvat up till, I think, Purim. And in there there's 4 Maimarim, and there's some letters and different things in this pamphlet that he gave out. And he wrote a Maimar of Yud Shevat. The overt reason was it was the yahrzeit of his grandmother. The Rebbe Marash's wife. The Rebbe Tzarifka. It was the yahrzeit of his grandmother, Yud Shevat. So he wrote a Maimar to recognize the yahrzeit of his grandmother. But it turned out that he himself had his yahrzeit on that day. And as soon as it turned out that he passed away on Yud Shevat, and there's a Maimar issued for Yud Shevat, immediately the Chassidim started to scrutinize. Thank you. The Mashka is working already, and we're just getting started.
You gotta say l'chaim if you know that word.
It's equalized.
Yeah?
Okay, I know these days you're not allowed to say such things because I don't want to presume your gender or anything, but why are you singing the Ezra Snashim? Come join us.
We?
Chaim.
So anyways, they started to scrutinize the Maimar. And what did they find? All the themes of the Maimar are really pertinent to the passing of the Frierdiker Rebbe and the beginning of the next generation, the 7th generation of the Rebbe. And so the Hasidim found many themes in that Maimar. Some of the themes are, for example, the theme of the 7th being the most beloved, the 7th completing the work of all the 6 before. Another theme is that in order to win the war, we bring out all of the oitzres, all of the treasures that were collected for generations that normally no one would be able to even look at them. But to win the war, you take it and give it to the simple soldiers and send them out to the front to fight. And you fund them with the treasures that were collected for generations. Another theme is taking the sheker, the falseness of this world, and turning it over to holiness. And making this world into a dwelling place for God, a mishkan for Hashem, and everything in this world. And several other themes that all fit very much to time the last decades, which were the time of the Rebbe, up until now. And so, of course, the Rebbe saw in this mimer a sort of spiritual will and testament for the seventh generation, as the Rebbe called our generation, the seventh generation. And so the Rebbe every year would say his own mimer, where he would pick one paragraph from the 20 paragraphs of those mimarim that the Free Rebbe put out, and he would elaborate and expound and find a lesson, a pertinent lesson based on one of the 20 paragraphs. The Rebbe did that for 20 years, from Tafshin Yud Aleph till Tafshin Lamed Aleph, and then the Rebbe started over for another 20 years until Nun Aleph, and then till Nun, and then the Rebbe didn't say any more Maimar of Basi Lagan. So for every one of the 20 paragraphs of the Frierdiker Rebbe's Maimar, we have two Maimar of the Rebbe. We have two Maimar of the Rebbe. And so what does this have to do with why the Frierdiker Rebbe went to America, not to Eretz Yisrael? For that we have to say L'chaim and sing a good first. L'chaim, L'chaim.
So we could give Joseph Kennedy a heart attack.
Hey, you know that stuff. Wow. All right, I didn't know I'm dealing with people who have inside information. That's top secret stuff, you know. We don't talk
Wasn't
about
that the
these things
Boston
publicly.
Rebbe? Boston Rebbe gave Kirsten.
Which tune we're singing?
Another one I'm going to say. I'd like this Farbrengen to bring a refuah shlema to my sister, who's in hospital, who's had come through some terrible stuff, but she's getting better. So refuah shlema to Shoshana Bas Farbrengen.
Chayei Israel, including the ones that were wounded in the last terrorist attack.
Yeah, and l'chaim to them, they should be all healed. I don't even know how many people are affected by that.
My neighbor, Friday night, heard the gunshots.
From here,
No, she was in,
she was closer to the Yaakov area.
So, it's told, you all heard of Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, all of a shot, the Brisker Rav in America. And everyone knows that he was friends with the Rebbe. They learned together in Berlin, in university. And they kept up a friendly relationship in America. He came once, maybe more, but I know of once he went to a Farbrengen of the Rebbe and was very impressed by it.
It was a Yud Shevat Farbrengen.
Yud Shevat, makes sense. So it's said that when the Rebbe assumed the leadership of Chabad on this day of Yud Shevat, in Tavshin Yud Aleph, 1 year after the passing of the previous Rebbe, he assumed the leadership by saying a mimer. And the mimer was based on the mimer of the previous Rebbe, based on the first chapter of the mimer. It talks about the 7th generation. And so the Rebbe focused on the idea that we are the last generation of exile and the first generation of redemption, of Geula. And the Rebbe focused on the idea that it is our job to take the Shekhinah that was brought down by all the tzaddikim and generations before us, generations that were much stronger than us, much greater than us, and it was brought down lower and lower and lower, close to this world. Our job is to bring it down into this world, to finish the job. So the Rebbe spoke about this theme, and Rabbi Soloveitchik, he heard that his friend, Rav Mendel Schneerson, became the new Lubavitcher Rebbe. And he heard that he said some teachings. So he asked, was it printed? So he said, yes. So he said, bring it to me, I want to see what he said. I'm very curious to see what he said. So they brought the mimer to Rabbi Soloveitchik, and he looked at it, he read through it, and he came out of his room looking what was that? Someone crashed?
downstairs, the door.
Oh, it's the door. It sounded like the car hit the wall or something. He came down. He came out looking somewhat disturbed, somewhat amused, somewhat. So they said, "What happened?" He said, "Mendele thinks he's Mashiach." Okay, what does that mean? Why did he say that? Because the mimer that the Rebbe said is a very bold mimer. It's very bold. And essentially in that mimer, the first teaching of the Rebbe as a Rebbe, what is the agenda that he sets? He sets the agenda of no less than to bring God into this world and to finish the Gullus, to finish the work of all the generations since the creation of the world. He sets that as his agenda. The Rebbe even said the words. He said that, welcome. Have some l'chaim, warm up. It's cold out there. So he said that it's customary in this country that when someone takes a political position or any position, that they make a statement. So I'm going to make a statement, said the Rebbe. And what was his statement essentially in this mimer? His statement was when a politician makes a statement, what does he do? He sets out his agenda, right? He says, we're going to fix this, and we're going to work on that, and we're going to do... What is the Rebbe's statement? The Rebbe's statement is, we're going to finish the job of all the generations. We're going to finish it all. We're going to bring the Shekhinah into the world, bring the Beis HaMikdash, bring Mashiach, bring an end to the Golos, bring the revelation of Hashem's oneness in all the world. That was the Rebbe's mission statement. It's somewhat bold. Somewhat bold, right? That's why Rabbi Soloveitchik, when he saw this mimer and he saw what the Rebbe is accepting upon himself, he says the only one who accepts such a thing upon themselves is someone who thinks they're Mashiach or someone who is Mashiach or whatever, right? It's the job of Mashiach to do that. So that's why he immediately said Mendel thinks he's Mashiach, right? So the approach of the Rebbe was the exact opposite of the approach of the rest of the religious world at that time. We're talking about 1951, 6 years after the end of the Holocaust. World Jewry is still licking its wounds. In America, forget about 1951. When I was a kid in the 80s, which tells you how young how old, depending which one you are. When I was a kid in the 80s, I remember if you saw an Orthodox Jew somewhere, it was like, take pictures, it was like very strange and unusual. And once a year when the Chabad telethon would come on television, it was like every Jew in the world would stop to watch it because there's something Jewish on television. It was unheard of. It was so crazy that something religious could penetrate that wall of America, right? That's when I was a child in the 80s, and in the 50s it was how much more strange for a Jew to go with a beard, with a kippah, with tzitzit. What was the Rebbe's approach? The Rebbe's approach was that we were going to take America and turn it over to a source of Yiddishkeit. Not just will Yiddishkeit be accepted here, we're going to turn to a source of Yiddishkeit. And so all the other Hasidic groups, all the religious groups, after the Holocaust, what was their battle plan? Really the whole Haredi world till today, what is the battle plan of the Haredi world? The battle plan of the Haredi world after the Holocaust is we're going to close ourselves in to our fortress. We're going to hold on to what we have. We're going to do everything we can not to allow our children to be exposed to any outside influences. And we know that we can't save them all. We know that some of them will be lost because there's so much Tuma in the world, but we will salvage what we can. We'll have as many children as we can. We'll strengthen our yeshivas, strengthen our institutions, until we grow our numbers to a point where we can sort of reintegrate into the world in certain ways, let's say. And that's just starting to happen. You see the Haredi world, some of them are going to study trades or going into high tech or going... What was the approach of the Rebbe from the very beginning? The approach of the Rebbe was, we have nothing to be afraid of. Torah is true. Hashem is real. And we are the representatives, the Jewish people. And therefore, why are we afraid of the world? There's nothing to be afraid of. The world has to be afraid of us. We are going to go on the offense. And we're going to utilize the freedom that America offers, the sort of American sense of idealism, let's say. America is a country where people are very simplistic compared to Europeans. Are much more sophisticated people. They're more cynical, they're more sophisticated. Americans are very simplistic. Yes, no, right, wrong. It's going to make money, it's going to lose. Very tachlis, very simple people, relatively speaking. But the Rebbe saw that potential. The potential is that we can, in this country, if we go with idealism, if we go with truth, people will accept it. And so, we spoke about the Friedrich Rebbe, Rabbi Goldberg. So we were speaking about that the Friedrich Rebbe was here in Eretz Yisrael. He was here in Rechavia, right? And the question is why he didn't stay. Why didn't he set up Lubavitch here? This Chabad of Rechavia, Rabbi Goldberg, you know the Free Rebbe was in Rechavia, right?
Rechavia, I did not know. Wow.
He visited the house.
It was worth it just to come, and now I can leave.
That's what I said. The only
Amazing.
reason you guys invited a tour guide to Farbrengen is because you don't know that you're Farbrengen in a place where the Free Rebbe was. He walked right down the street here.
Wow.
He
King
saw
George?
this place. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
Because he went to Ibn Ezra Street to the house of God Farbrengen, who was the high court judge under the British mandate
Number
in
4?
Palestine.
Ibn Ezra.
It says Chavatzelet, Beit Chavatzelet. It says on the door. All the tourists stop there and they talk about God Farbrengen and the establishment of the justice system in Israel and the high court system and all of that. But the Frierdiker Rebbe visited because he was a son of a chassid of the Frierdiker. His father was a chassid of the Rebbe Rashab.
Amazing.
And he visited the Rebbe, so the Rebbe returned him a visit over there. So I was telling them that imagine if the Frierdiker Rebbe would know that right here would be a Chabad house. So the question we were asking was, why didn't the Frierdiker Rebbe move Lubavitch to Eretz Yisrael? Why he came here, he saw everything. A lot of Rebbes did come here. A lot of yeshivas came here. Rebbes came here. The Frierdiker Rebbe came, he davened, he saw everything, and then he went to America. He went back, but ultimately after seeing what's here and seeing what's there, when it came time to pick up and reestablish, he went to America. He visited Chicago, New York, different places, and he chose America. And so, when if you learn the mimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe and the mimer of the Rebbe of Basi Lagani, and you will understand that the approach of Chassidus is the approach of not stopping until the Elokus is revealed in the lowest and in the furthest place, then you'll understand exactly why the Frierdiker Rebbe didn't set up shop here in Eretz Yisrael, why he continued to America. Because to come here is the obvious move. The obvious move is, why wouldn't you go to the holiest place you possibly could? Yerushalayim Ira Kodesh. If you can't do Yerushalayim, go to Tzfat, go to Hebron. But come to the holiest place that you could. Because if you're chasing the Kedusha, then you want to run away from the world and you want to come to where the energy is. Where's the energy? In the holy places. But the approach of Chassidus is the approach of the Baal Shem Tov. And the approach of the Baal Shem Tov is that Hashem is not more in the Kodesh HaKadoshim than he is here, or than he is in someone's living room in Los Angeles or in London or anywhere in the world. It's just that there we have the Torah, the will of Hashem is that there we act in a certain way. And there we connect in a certain way. And the will of Hashem is that here or in Los Angeles or wherever we connect in a different way. And so we behave differently if you're the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, or if you're a regular person in the living room somewhere else. It's not because God is less here or less there. He's the same. But it's because His will is that we act differently, and so we obey His will. We obey what the Torah says, what the Halacha says. But the ultimate goal is to bring about a time when Mala Haaretz De'as Hashem, when the entire world will be full of the knowledge of Hashem. That when a person sits in the living room in Los Angeles, the level of revelation of godliness that they perceive will be exactly the same as the level that the Kohen Gadol had in the Kodesh HaKadoshim Yom Kippur, and actually even higher than that. Even higher than that. So that is the agenda that the Rebbe sets for himself and for his Chassidim in his first mimer. The agenda is to bring that reality about, that the Shekhinah lives in the world, and not only in the world, in every part of the world. L'chaim, l'chaim. Only if this is a question and answer session, the answer is no. But if you're Farbrengen with us, then then please contribute. Let's go.
Avram Avinu and Lot do exactly the same thing in the story of the Malachim.
Yeah.
They're both being Moshe Nefesh to do exactly
Yes.
the same story in both cases.
Yes.
Avraham Avinu is given the story about his continuity, Yitzchak, and Lot ends up fathering Moab, who becomes the father of Ruth, becomes the father of Yosef. So, Lot, the Roy, Lot, and Avram had a fight. So it is said that they're both Royim, and the two Royim were arguing what mission should they take. And Avram Avinu said, "I'm going to take Mamre," and Lot volunteered to take the lowest place, like you were saying. He went to Sodom Dafka, and Mamish Meiser Nefesh, literally, to rescue the Tzaitis that were in Sodom, and they were so strong that they warped all the people. And he volunteered to go down there and rescue it for the purpose of giving it to David HaMelech and the Mashiach.
Where did you read this?
I heard it. I can tell you where. In a minute. It's like, you know, the Sulam, right? So, the Talmud of the Baal Sulam in the old city. He passed away a few years ago. So he gave a few shurim about.
It's a very interesting.
There's more than just this, but this.
It's a very interesting concept. Very interesting concept. And it's interesting you bring it up because the Rebbe alludes to something parallel to that in the Maimer of Tavshem Mem Gimel. And he speaks about the difference between Esav, the person, and Esav Shabbatorah. Esav, the person, was a Rasha, he was a coarse person. But Esav Shabbatorah, the spiritual source of Esav, is a whole different thing. That's a high spiritual level. And you know the pshat, the simple pshat of the story that you're talking about with Avram and Lot is that Avram comes following Hashem's vision to live in the Holy Land, in the land that Hashem is going to show him. And Lot comes along, and Avram assumes that Lot is coming with him for this mission. But then, as soon as they have any conflict or any problem, Avram says, if you go right, I'll go left. If you go left, I'll go right. Which means Avram's giving him two choices. He's letting him choose, go to Yehuda or Shomron, basically, because they're standing in the middle of Yehuda and Shomron and Bethel. Harbal Chatzor, from there you can see the whole country. And he's saying, if you go south, I'll go north. Because south, right always means south in the Torah, left always means north. So he's basically saying you can take the southern part of Eretz Canaan or the northern part. And then what to say, Vayisa Lot et enav v'yar et kol kikar Yarden. Lot lifted his eyes, and he saw the whole Kikar Yarden. And he saw how beautiful it is, how it's so green and so well watered. Kagan Hashem ke'eretz Mitzrayim. Right? In other words, it's already alluding to it's a place of Tuma and Klippa. And Avram tells him something, and instead of listening with his ears, Vayisa Lot es einav, he lifts his eyes. Like it says, Leisasuru achrei lavavchem v'achrei einechem. That you shouldn't go after your eyes, you should listen. And here the tzaddik, the one who hears the word of Hashem, is telling him, giving him a choice that basically what Avram is saying to him is, we're both part of this promise of Hashem. We came to do this together. And if there's some tactical problems, we'll split it. It's fine. Fences make good neighbors, right? We'll make a division and that's it. But Lot doesn't hear about it, and he leaves essentially Eretz Canaan. He leaves Eretz Canaan. And then the next pasuk says that Avram sat in Eretz Canaan and Lot sat in Sodom in the Kikar HaYarden, which essentially says that Lot left Eretz Canaan, which basically means that he gave up on the promise altogether to Avram. He basically said, I'm done. I came on an adventure. I'm out of here. I'm going to the place that I saw with my eyes. It's Eretz Mitzrayim. And Avram was in Eretz Canaan. And then what's the next pasuk? The next pasuk is that Hashem appears to Avram Achrei Pared Lot Mi'imai, after Lot left him, and says to him, lift your eyes to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. All the land you see I'm giving you. It's not just left and right. It's everything. It's the Galil, it's the Negev, it's the Kikar Yarden, you're getting it all. But now Lot is not part of it. He lost it because instead of listening to Avram, he chose his own path. And Hashem never revealed even to Avram what he's getting until Lot voluntarily excluded himself from the prompt. So that's the pshat, like that's on the pshat level of the story. And according to that pshat, Lot comes out as a person you want nothing to do with, right? And furthermore, then Lot goes down to Sodom, and then the whole story with the Malachim, and then he runs away, and his daughters, and he has the two boys, and now Lot comes up to the mountain where Avram is living near Hebron, and what does Avram do? He runs out of there quickly. He goes to Gerar to get away from Lot. He wants nothing to do. The Mefarshim say he doesn't want to be associated with Lot, so he doesn't want his children playing with Lot's children. He wants nothing to do, so he goes to Gerar. And then in Gerar he has a problem with Avimelech, so he goes and starts his own place, Beersheba. So Avram wants he wants his children and his family to be isolated from anything that has to do with Lot. He doesn't want Lot's influence. But then you have to ask the question, which is what you're bringing up, which is if so, then why does Hashem bring about the Mashiach comes from Lot and his daughter, from Moab through Ruth? Why does Hashem bring it about? Right? There has to be something in Lot which is at least redeemable, if not more than that, right? At least redeemable.
Maybe we could sing a niggin.
L'chaim,
And say a few l'chaims, Dr. Avi. A couple l'chaims, all your questions will be answered, I promise.
I'm not so sure his questions won't be answered.
You won't have any questions anymore. Takes care of all problems, all sicknesses, all...
It should always happen to us.
What?
His
I didn't say questions are
questions won't be
bad.
answered
I
by
just said that the
l'chaim.
l'chaim takes care of it. L'chaim. L'chaim. Nine 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 Hold the same. L'chaim, l'chaim, everybody. L'chaim. First of all, I want to give a special l'chaim to all of you sitting over here. It's truly amazing, and standing. Truly amazing. I'm very, very impressed and touched that you made the effort to come even in this weather. It's Gishnei Bracha. You know, here in Eretz Yisrael, we look forward to the rain, unlike in Chutz La'aretz, where I couldn't stand the rain. But over here, especially unfortunately, there's been a drought in Eretz Yisrael, and it's every drop is please keep on coming. Hashem, please bring the bracha. Keep it going. But to come out and to come to Farbrengen is not self-understood, and I really appreciate and admire it. And it should be a source of bracha for all of us sitting around the table. Anyways, Farbrengen is a bracha. How much more so when it comes to celebrating together under these conditions. So first of all, l'chaim to all of you. L'chaim. A special l'chaim to Rabbi Shaffier, a dear friend for a long time, ever since I've come here to Eretz Yisrael. And it's a great opportunity that is a great privilege that Rabbi Shaffier is here with us and Farbrengen with us, and I'm very, very happy. And the Mirza Hashem will be able to Farbrengen more, and Shachar 7:30. So do the math. It's quite.
That means that if we keep going, you don't have to go home and get changed. You can just daven Shachar.
That's exactly what I meant. Exactly, you got it. A special welcome to another dear friend, Rabbi Yaina, a big Yeshakayach for coming. Welcome together with your son. You should be able to have in the right time a Yishuv Tov, and you should be able to join us for many more Pu'ulos and Farbrengens, L'chaim, L'vracha, and Shir, L'chaim.
It's okay.
Mirza Hashem? He's Baruch Hashem very, very, very full. It'll be our pleasure. The halavai that he should do through Chabad. Yes. And so, in honor of this special day of Yud Shevat, it's important for us to remember that today is almost like a double Farbrengen. A Farbrengen marking the yahrzeit of the previous Rebbe. In other words, this is connected to the life's mission of the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak. And also, tomorrow night, specifically, which is the 11th of Shevat, symbolizes the day that the Rebbe assumed leadership of Chabad of our generation. Actually, the Rebbe would Farbrengen in the night in between the 10th of Shvat and the 11th of Shvat, which will be tomorrow evening, and same thing like Yud Tet and Chav Kislev, the night in the middle, the Rebbe would Farbrengen. But there's one point that I want to bring out, please, and that is, I always like talking about marriages and dating and shidduchim, and believe it or not, there is something very, very important which has to do with both the previous Rebbe and the Rebbe in connection with Yud Shevat, in connection with marriage. In the fifth, you don't have to go too far in the mimer of the previous Rebbe. Only in the fifth paragraph already, there's out of 20 paragraphs, he talks about the idea of there was a great tzaddik, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi, and when he would dance in front of the Kala, he would dance with a branch of a myrtle branch, a hadas that we use in the lulav etrog. We also take the hadas branch, and he would dance with that in front like a wacko, like a lunatic. He would dance. He looked like if you look at a guy like that dancing on King George Street, you would send him to a certain institution, or there's a few options. But in front of a wedding, Ketzad meraktin lufnei akala. How do you dance in front of a kala? That's something which is unbelievable. And to the extent that he was willing to seem to dance as if he was created, maybe after a little l'chaim, but he definitely knew what he was doing. It wasn't just out of he was high, but high on simcha, not high on vodka. I think he was high on simcha. And there's a question, the different opinions of what exactly is the interpretation of this branch. But the point is that he danced like a lunatic. And the point, and the explanation the previous Rebbe explains, and the Rebbe explains at great length, and I think the Rebbe's his whole leadership is based on this point, is that when it comes to serving Hashem, we have to be like a lunatic. Now, usually the reason why people stay away from lunatics is because it has a negative connotation. I understand. It actually uses the word meshuggah. And the previous Rebbe quotes from the Navi, from the prophet, that sometimes the Navi itself, the prophet who gives us Hashem's word, is called Meshuggah. That word. Now, in Hebrew, in modern day Hebrew, you will not hear it being called to a chief rabbi, it will not be a terribly good compliment to call him Meshuga. But nonetheless, the Navi is called sometimes a Meshuga. Why? Because Meshuga means not the norm. You have the norm, you have above the norm, and you have below the norm. Usually, Meshuga is used as below the norm, and that's not very, very highly recommended. But sometimes it is a good thing to be higher than the norm. Now, true, you wouldn't necessarily dance at your own son's wedding the way you walk on King George Street. You won't start dancing like a Meshuga. But in the right time, at the right opportunity, it's okay to be Meshuga. Because Meshuga, if it's used in a positive sense, then you know that you're achieving the right goal. And sometimes it's a very, very delicate line because you could think that it's the time to be Meshuga and it's really not. Or you could think, why should I be over crazy? I want to be normal, and you're really supposed to be. But nonetheless, if you have the right instruction, if you have the right direction, then you need to be Meshuga. The best example is by a wedding. That's why it's not just by chance that Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Eloi, he danced like a lunatic at a wedding. Because that's the whole idea of what a wedding is. A wedding is bringing the level of Hashem, which is way higher than any kind of rationale, any kind of nature, to bring it into the lives. And that's the only thing which can make a husband and wife, male and female, under the same roof. Going along the regular line, we can expand upon this, and now is not the right time. But going just doing the regular things, excuse me, please, is not necessarily the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to bring the level of a Kadosh Baruch Hu between husband and wife that is way beyond, and what you can achieve through bringing Hashem into your lives is a much, much higher level than anything else you can accomplish. That's why shlichut is the greatest shlichut is making a shidduch, is going on dates, is going on and actually getting married, and building a home in Am Yisrael. That's the greatest thing that you can do. So that's the Rebbe's whole theme. You can see his whole leadership. It's a thread, a common denominator that goes through every story, every sicha of the Rebbe, every mimer, every dollars the Rebbe would give out every Sunday. It's always the Rebbe's a one-tracked mind along these lines. You always have to go beyond the letter of the law. You always have to go higher. The Rebbe once said an example. If chas v'shalom there is a fire in someone's house, it's the middle of the night and they're in their pajamas. So they're going to start making a calculation. 1 second, let's start making a calculation. Got to get dressed. I got to call this person. I have a whole list of things. Wait a second. I have to take this and that and A, B, and C. I was just on an airplane coming back, and they said, if chas v'shalom something happens, leave everything behind you. Don't make any calculations. Of course, no one is in their right mind is going to start making calculations, even getting dressed. They're just going to run for their lives, grab everyone that you can and run. Because in a time of fire, in a time of need, in a time of urgency, you don't make calculations. Calculations is not for a time of urgency. Now is a time of urgency. Now is a time, the crazy winds that are blowing outside, we don't have to go too far to see the craziness that's going on in the world. And I'm not talking about the good Meshuga. I'm talking about the beneath, underneath the normal line. And therefore, the only way, this is the point, the only way to counter that is through being Meshuga above. That's it. Don't worry, it's not a bad thing to be Meshuga. It's really not a bad thing. It's actually pretty cool. Try it once in a while. Don't go crazy, like start making somersaults on King George Street. I don't recommend it. But within the right framework, it's a wonderful thing, truly speaking. It's not always easy, but you look back and you say, wow, the only way to counter the craziness, and there's plenty of that in the world, is through going lemala min hateva, lemala mitam v'dat, higher, above quote-unquote normalcy. That's a whole other conversation. Who decides what's normalcy? That's a whole other thing for itself. But let's assume that we know, that we can all agree what is normalcy. Well, the only way to counter that is definitely through being involved in weddings, being involved in shidduchim, and doing avodat Hashem higher, way higher than the quote unquote norm. And so let's all say l'chaim together. I have to apologize if I'm going to leave soon. I'm just getting over something, but Baruch Hashem, I'm much better than I was a couple of days ago. But I'm really happy that I'm able to be here together with you and to be able to participate in this wonderful Farbrengen. So we're going to sing a special nigun, and Rabbi Shaffier will continue with this wonderful Farbrengen. And we look forward to seeing all of you at many more Farbrengens, at many more lectures in Mirz Hashem, that we'll be able to build a greater center for Chabad of Rechavia. L'chaim. L'chaim. One of the Rebbe's beautiful nigunim. Special l'chaim to Rabbi Diamond. Thank you very much for orchestrating and organizing this entire Farbrengen, and everybody that helped to set up. Big Yeshua. Rabbi Shaffier, b'vakasha. L'chaim l'chaim.
So we're still waiting for the answer.
Also, we were talking about that the philosophy of the Rebbe, of Chabad, the Chiddush, one of the Chiddush, if not the main Chiddush, is that instead of running away from the world towards the light, towards the revelation, towards where the energy is, which is seemingly the obvious thing to do. If you live in a world of darkness, run away from the darkness and go to the light, go to the holiest place. The Rebbe insists on turning the dark into light. We'll talk more about it, but Dr. Avi was here and he raised something, it's Bashkacha Protest, he raised it because you could therefore ask. You could ask a question, if that's the case. Maybe we shouldn't be afraid of the darkness. Maybe we shouldn't be afraid of, God forbid, of things that go against the Torah. Maybe it shouldn't bother us because we know that God is there, so we can go towards anything, right? And like he was mentioning that Lot, from the relation with his daughters, what came out? From that came out Moab. From that came out Ruth. From Ruth came Ovad, from Ovad came Yishai, from Yishai came David, from David came the Rebbe. Ultimately Mashiach will come from David. All the Kedusha in the world, they came all through Lot, right? And you could say the same thing with Yehuda and Peretz. It all comes through Yehuda and Peretz. And you could say the same thing for Shlomo Melech and Batsheva. Mashiach comes through Shlomo Melech and Batsheva. So it's clear beyond any doubt that nobody in their right mind would ever say, okay, if Mashiach comes through Lot and his daughters, comes through David and Bathsheba, comes through Yehuda and Tamar, then maybe we want to bring Mashiach quicker, we should advocate such relationships. A crazy person would say such a thing. We want to bring Mashiach quicker, let's encourage more incest, more adultery, chas v'shalom. It would be absurd to say such a thing, right? So that's the answer. The answer is the guide. What allows us to not be afraid of the darkness is the Torah and the halacha. When we follow everything according to Torah and everything according to halacha, then we don't have to be afraid of the world. But we have to engage in the world scrupulously according to the halacha. And if we engage in the world scrupulously according to halacha and according to Torah, then we don't have anything to be afraid of the world. And then when something comes along that is not according to Torah, it's not according to the way it's supposed to be, then after the fact, we can also look there for Hashem's hashgacha pratis that happens in it. And sometimes Hashem has his own cheshbonos where he brings into the world things through the most twisted and roundabout channels that we'll never understand. Like Lot and Bathsheba and all of these things. And if we are not afraid of the world, someone who was afraid of the world, someone who didn't have the Rebbe's philosophy, he would meet Shlomo HaMelech and he'd say, "How dare you be king? I don't follow you. You're illegitimate. Who gives you the right to be king?" They'll beat Mashiach, they'll say your great grandmother, you know where she comes from Lot and his daughters. How are you, Mashiach? In other words, we have to have two things at the same time. At the same time, we have to know that each thing in front of us, how we decide if we go right or we go left, is the Torah, the halacha. And we also have to at the same time know that everything that we see that's not according to the Torah, we're going to have nothing to be afraid of it. Because Hashem is controlling everything at the same time. So, when you understand the approach of the Baal Shem Tov, which is the approach of Chassidus, the Baal Shem Tov said like this. There's a famous expression, and the Rebbe brings this in the Mimer of Yud Shevat. There's a famous expression from Tanakh that says Sur Mirah, Pasuk Sur Mirah v'aseh tov. Run away from evil and do good. And we know what that means. Don't do averas and do mitzvahs. Sur Mirah v'aseh tov. Very simple. That's the pshat. According to Chassidus, it has a little bit of a different pshat. The Baal Shem Tov said, Sur Mirah. Obviously you don't do bad. But this that you didn't do the bad, it's not enough. Aseh tov, you must make the bad into good. You can't be satisfied with just saying, I didn't engage in this prohibited thing. My children got a Torah education. I didn't live in a place where there's cars driving on Shabbos. I live in a neighborhood that's closed off from cars. I did this, I did that. That's not enough. Aseh tov, it's not a separate thing. Sur Mirah, Aseh tov. The Baal Shem Tov says Sur Mirah, and now still referencing the word Ra, Aseh tov, make it good. You have to turn the Ra into Tov. And you can't be satisfied until you can see the good in everything. So at the same time, we have to scrupulously observe halacha, and at the same time, we can't be afraid of anything. Because Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is in everything, and there's nothing to be afraid of. L'chaim, l'chaim. Getting mixed up.
I start making it with
Is there
colour.
water here?
I was
Pass the
trying to
water,
say to
please.
the other rabbi that David Melech himself, also God
Thank you.
himself, he was talking about Meshuggah, being Meshuggah. He
right.
was considered.
His wife, Michal, got mad at him because he was jumping and dancing and singing.
It's not the dad.
Yeah.
Even when he was running from Shul.
Was
Hmm?
he
When he
right
was
to
running
do
from
that?
Shul.
As a king, it's difficult.
He made himself into a Meshuggah by in Gath, yeah.
Difficult. But he thought that was the right way
L'chaim l'chaim. So on that theme of being crazy, right? So in the mimer of the previous Rebbe, one of the concepts he talks about is the concept of the Mishkan. And Hashem gives us a commandment in the Torah, "V'aseh li mikdash v'shechanti b'soicham." Make me a mikdash, and I will dwell among them. So he says there in the Maimer, "B'soicha le'ne'amar." It doesn't say make a mikdash and I will dwell in it. Ela b'soicham, I will dwell in them. So the Friedrich Rebbe says, "B'toch kol echad ve'echad." What's b'tocham? In each and every Jew. When we make the mikdash, Hashem dwells inside every Jew. And so the Friedrich Rebbe says there is the Mishkan, the mikdash, in Yerushalayim, and Shiloh, wherever it was in different times. And then there is the Mishkan that's inside of every Jew. Every Jew has to make a Mishkan inside of themselves. And there the Friedrich Rebbe goes into great length of the symbolism of the Mishkan, the materials it was built of, the names of the materials, and what does that have to do with the Mishkan that we have to make inside each and every one of us. And there he says, from what was the Mishkan built? It was built from Atzei Shitim. Acacia, in English it's acacia, the wood called Shitim. So the Rebbe Rayat says that Atzei Shitim, it comes from the word Shtus. Shtus. It's the same shorish. Shitim, Shtus. So it's true also grammatically, what's the word? Not grammatically. The origin of the word. It slipped my mind. The origin of the word, if you go to the desert and you look at the Atzei Shitim, the acacia trees, you'll see they're all twisted like this, right? They're very twisty. So Shitim, it means that they're turned, they're twisted. The word shtut, it means there's the straight path, and if you veer, tats, you veer off the path, then you're shoteh, then you're, or like the Friedrich Rebbe writes, there's the sota. What's the sota? A woman who veers from the path, the right path, the path of being with her husband. She veers from the path of tznius, and she becomes a sota. It's the same. Satan. What's the Satan? The Satan tries to push us off the path, so it's called the Satan. All of these things, they come from the same root. The sota, shota, shitin, satan. It's all the same shorish. And dafka from that wood that has that name, you make the mishkan. Dafka from that wood, you make the mishkan. And what are the boards called?
Crushing.
They're called krushim. And what are the letters of keresh? It's the letters of the word If you rearrange it, what word do you get? Kesher. On the one hand, you get kesher. On the other hand, you get sheker. Sheker, right? You get sheker. Falseness. So it could be kesher or it could be sheker, depending how you rearrange it. The same word, keresh. So the Friedrich Rebbe says, what's the difference between kesher and sheker? One is if you do shtutz. Either way, you have to have shitin. You have to have shtut. You have to have insanity. You have to have something which is not normal. But you can do something that's insane, which transcends normal. It's better than normal. If I walk down the streets and I see somebody who needs help, I don't know, they don't have food to eat, and I give them 20 shekel.
You're nuts.
That's normal. That's in the realm of normal. I gave them 10, 20 shekel. They can go buy a sandwich. That's the realm of normal. But if I stop in the middle of my day and I go take interest in their situation and go see if maybe I can find them something to help them in a much bigger way, and I do that out of the ordinary of what's normal for the situation, that's a kind of insanity. It's a kind of shtut. But it's a good shtut. Shtut isn't only a pejorative. Shtut is also, shtut is a technical term. It's not just a pejorative term. It could be shtut to go above and beyond, as we say. To go above and beyond what's demanded is shtut. Or it could be shtut to not do what's demanded, not do what's normal. To that same person, scream at them or something instead of giving them 5 shekel and moving on. The normal thing is you hand them a few shekels and you keep moving about your day. Not normal would be either to be mean to them or whatever, that's going below what's normal, or to go above and beyond and to engage and to help. Either one is shtut. So the difference between sheker and kesher is if you do the shtut that transcends normal or the shtut that goes below normal. The same keresh could be rearranged either way. So the Rebbe said that the mission of our generation is to build the Mishkan, because we're the 7th generation. And who builds the Mishkan? Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the Shvi, he's the 7th. The Kol HaShvi and Chavivin, all the 7ths are beloved. Avram, who was the first, didn't build the Mishkan. Yitzchak, who was the second, didn't build the Mishkan. Yaakov didn't build the Mishkan. Only Moshe, who was the Shvi, he built the Mishkan. And in the Mishkan, Hashem's presence dwelled in this physical world. And now, too, in our times, it's our job to bring back the Beis HaMikdash, to bring back the Shekhinah to this world in a revealed sense. And it says the Rebbe, we are the 7th generation. 7th generation of the Rebbes of Chabad. And so our job is to complete that mission and to bring the Mishkan into this world. And therefore, how do we accomplish it? What is the special mission of our time? It's through shittim, it's through shtut. But it's obviously not through shtut of Lot or of David with Bathsheba or whatever. That's a type of shtut. Retroactively, that also served as a Hashem had his reason why Mashiach had to come through those channels. But the shtut that we should be engaging in is to do something of kedusha above and beyond what's demanded of us. And what more shtut is there in the world than what the Rebbe did? The Rebbe, after the Holocaust, they had a hard time in the late 40s and early 50s. Sometimes they had a hard time getting a minyan in 770 on Shabbos. Sometimes they had a hard time getting a minyan. I just read on Shabbos a sikha of the Rebbe, and it starts with a description. It says it was the first anniversary. It was Yud Shevat, Tafshin Yud Bet. In other words, the Friedrich Rebbe passed away in Tafshin Yud. Then the Rebbe became Rebbe the year later on Tafshin Yud Aleph. And then 1 year later on Tafshin Yud Bet, it was Shabbos before Yud Shevat. And today in every Chabad house in the world, they have a Farbrengen the Shabbos for Yud Shevat. Everyone gets an Aliyah. It's a big deal, a Kiddush, a Farbrengen, Shabbos preparation for Yud Shevat. But that year in 770, no one made a Kiddush. There wasn't even a Kiddush plan. And the Rebbe came down to pray and said, oh, no one made a Kiddush? Okay, I don't know, I'm surprised. It didn't even occur to anybody that they should make a Kiddush for Shabbos before Yud Shevat. That was the situation in those days. It was a small group of Hasidim who survived. They ran away from the communists, they ran away from the Nazis. So what's the shtus that the Rebbe does? Every other Rebbe in the world, every other Rosh Yeshiva in the world gathered his people, embraced them, strengthened them, and tried to hold on. The Rebbe took those people and sent them out. He sent them out. He sent one to Los Angeles, one to Chicago, one to here, one to there, one. And one of the first places he sent is to Morocco, of all places. To Morocco. Russian, Ashkenazi, Russian, Litvish Jews, Chassidim from Lithuania, Russia. After the Holocaust, the Moroccans didn't die in the Holocaust. They don't lose 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. But where's the Rebbe? What's his first concern? That the Jews in Morocco, who were always very strong in Yiddishkeit, are starting to be influenced by modernization. The Alliance schools are infiltrating, and they're taking the children out of the traditional Talmud Torah, and they're getting a secular education instead of a Torah education. So the Rebbe sent shepherds to Morocco.
Didn't he do well?
And you should know that because of that today in Lubavitch, my son-in-law is Moroccan. I mean, in Lubavitch today we have a lot of Moroccans because the Moroccan Jews see the Rebbe as their Rebbe also because he cared about them.
The first Shaliach was in Morocco?
What's that?
The first Shaliach was
The
in
first
Morocco.
Shaliach that the Rebbe appointed was to Morocco.
Okay.
The first Shaliach that the Rebbe, after the Holocaust, after everything, the first Shaliach the Rebbe appointed to Morocco, then to Tunisia, North Africa. So, this is shtus. This is insanity. Shtus. But that is how you build the Mishkan. You build it with atzei shitin. You build it with shtus. You don't build it with normal behavior. Normal behavior gets normal outcome. Normal is the world goes on its normal way. We do our mitzvahs. We put tefillin in the morning. We daven a little, learn a little Torah. Then we go to work. Then we come home. We have a little shir or something. But basically, when we do the mitzvahs, when we go to shul, now it's the time for Hashem, and the rest of the time we're going about our life, and we have what we want. That gets you normal outcome, which is the world continues as normal. What gets you supernatural outcome? Supernatural behavior. Insane behavior. But insane in the good way. And the insane behavior is that even after you finished your davening in the morning and you have your Shir Torah, when you go to work, you're still thinking about Hashem and you're looking at your job. Who maybe didn't put tefillin on here? Let's get him to put on tefillin at work. It's crazy. I work in a high-tech firm. I work in a secular environment. I'm going to start asking people to put tefillin on at work? That's insane. They'll look at me like I'm crazy. I'll never get a promotion. But that's the kind of behavior that brings Mashiach. That's the kind of behavior the Rebbe did, and that behavior worked. That behavior worked. And that's why only now the rest of the Haredi world is just starting to open a little bit the walls that they built. They're just starting to peek out of the walls, and they weren't ready to do it, but the internet and all of that have forced earlier than they were planning. They realized that. So the Haredi world now, they're sending some kids to some trade schools, that starting to get into the larger world. Lubavitch has been doing it since day one. And look at the results all over the world. Look at the hundreds of thousands, millions of neshamas that were saved because of the work that the Rebbe did. When the Rebbe should have, if he was a normal person, if he was sane, he should have been worrying about how do I save my 10, 12, 15 families that came here to Crown Heights and keep them strong. Maybe in a decade or two, we'll think about what we can do to reach out to the world. No, from the beginning, he sent them out. Chaim Chaim.
Rabbi, tell us something about Beersheba. What does that mean?
You want to move to Beersheba?
No, I'm going to go.
It's certainly more affordable than Rechavia, I'll tell you that.
to play school Yad in the month's time. It's on the derech, but it's. I wanted to stay in Jerusalem, but I couldn't.
Come anytime for Shabbos to
I can't afford
Beersheba,
to-
we'll be happy to have you. It's the city of Hafnat Sesor there. We'll see about yeah, come anytime.
Have you got anything special over like?
There is Ber Avram. Avram's
Ber
well
Avram.
is Avram's well.
They know where it is.
There is a site which there's a tradition going back about 1,000 years about it, so it's very possible that it's the correct site.
The real deal.
And if not, it's definitely in the area. I mean, there are 20-something ancient wells in Beersheba, and there's one particular one that everyone always called Ber Avram. So
Is it
if it's not that one, it's the one over here, the one over there.
Anybody?
And they have like a whole tourism center there with a video and everything. But you can daven if you go there. That would teach us the kedusha. You go on the tour, they take you through the video, and then you say, you take out your tilim and you start to daven. That's just the kedusha. Normal is you follow the tour and you do what they tell you. Just the kedusha, you say, this is Ber Avram. I want to say a tilim. Yeah, that's just the kedusha, like you did in the non-sectarian chapel.
Yeah.
L'chai.
There's actually something very interesting about the Chaim.
Have an English community in Beersheba?
We have a minion of English speakers. I'm not trying to take people away from Rory Goldberg, but we also have an English speaker.
Purpose
So
is
we
to
have
come to
there
Yerushalayim.
who's a Moroccan Jew, okay, from Moroccan Chabad. So yeah.
Something very interesting about I think it's the way the Rebbe, what the Rebbe taught us, and that maybe is the changing point between the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe, is it's connected also to Yud Shevat and also to the 15th day of Shevat. What happens in the 15th day of Shevat?
Nobody knows unless you put the acronym
Tu
together.
B'Shvat.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yes, for sure.
Oh,
You're allowed to say it.
You're allowed to say
Tu
that.
B'Shvat is Rosh Hashanah Leilanot, right? It's the beginning, it's the new year for the trees. And why are we celebrating it? There are quite a few other Rosh Hashanahs. One of the Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah Melachim for kings. And that is, I don't think it's celebrated. I don't think even the kings celebrate it, right? Rosh Hashanah Melachim is on Aleph Nisan. There's something very unique about Rosh Hashanah Leilanot that we do celebrate specifically, and that is the idea of what the ilan, what a tree represents. Tree represents Ki Adam Eitz Hasada. We are compared to trees because of one thing, because of the fact that the tree grows, and us as humans, we've always got to grow. So the Rebbe says, Mazeh? Shema Mechubar. It's connected. Yefemot, right? The connection that a person has also always should be to his living source. So the Rebbe has a very interesting question. The Rebbe says, why do we celebrate this day of growth? Let's call it the day of growth. Why do we celebrate it on the 15th of the month? The 15th of the month is when the moon is complete. When the moon is complete, that represents that Am Yisrael are complete. Their deeds are complete. And it's a good sign. It's a sign that we are on the right track, that we already we are doing what's needed. The idea of growing means that there's room to grow, and that we are request to grow, and that should be maybe Aleph, that should be maybe Hey, that should be maybe Gimel, one of those days. But why do we celebrate it on Tesvav? So there's a very interesting concept in the Ma'amarim of the Rebbe Rashab, but the best way to understand it is through a few stories. One story is about a shaliach that went to, if I'm not mistaken, he went on campus, and this was his first year going on campus, and he goes with a lot of energy, and he's really looking forward. Sorry, no, this is the. This is a story that will explain to us the idea of what the Rebbe Rashab says in his Maimer. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Ranat, Tafresh Nun Tes. The Rebbe brings these concepts. The Rebbe brings them alive.
Now in Be'er Sheva by Chassidus between Mechamar.
Yeah, Ranat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shabbos afternoon.
So the story is that this person came, this chassid, this shliach, a young shliach, came to the Rebbe and reported to the Rebbe that he gave out matzah shmura before Pesach. Now it's a big thing, giving matzah shmura Erev Pesach. Usually we bring here quite a few kilos that we have, and whoever has people that don't have matzah shmura, he can come and take and give them. So this young shliach gave out to 300 students matzah shmura. And he comes to the Rebbe after Pesach and he gives the Rebbe a report. He tells the Rebbe, I distributed 300 matzah shmuras.
He was expecting a pat on the back.
He was expecting a pat on the back, a grace and shkoya.
He already gave himself one, probably.
Yeah, he was very happy.
Now I want the Rebbe to give him one too.
And that is an accomplishment. And you know, the previous Rebbe, the way he writes, he's got a very interesting and special way of writing. He's the only Rebbe that wrote stories and you know, like a kind of a diary, Sefer HaZichronos, the book of memories, his letters. And the Rebbe Rayatz was very, he was always complimenting, he was always encouraging, but in a way that each person that he refers to, even if he might be not really the biggest chassid, he used to refer to him as Havasik, the chassid, the prominent.
He patted everybody on the back.
Exactly. That was, and there is a very good side to that. The whole style of the Rebbe Rayatz, the previous Rebbe, was that you can see there is a picture of him with one leg on the chair and holding a cigarette in his hand. That's like, you know, that's a style of Rachbus. That was his whole character, and the way that Chassidus was also in his Ma'amarim, very interesting Ma'amarim that you can read them as if they are stories. So he came back to that shliach that came to the Rebbe, and he was expecting a compliment, and the Rebbe asked him, well, tell me, how many Jews are there on campus? And he says, 3,000. So the Rebbe says, okay, so there's a bit more work to be done. And
I think you put it more politely than how the Rebbe said it.
What was the Rebbe say?
No, the way I remember the story is
Yeah.
that the Rebbe said, he said, I gave out 300 shmura matzahs. The Rebbe said, but I think there's a lot more. There's a lot more Jews on campus. How many? He said 3,000. He said. So how you gave out only 300 if there's 3,000? Like the Rebbe was just didn't understand why he's so happy about it.
And there's also another story about quite a wealthy man that was very supportive of a certain Chabad community. And then what happened is that the Gvir, usually the Balabas, so the rabbi used to bring him to the Rebbe, and he had a few moments to speak to the Rebbe. And this person told the Rebbe that this year he donated $1 million to his Beit Chabad. And then $1 million was a big, even today it's a huge amount, but then it was even more.
Not in Rechavia. It won't even buy you a one-room apartment.
Nope. So so you're expecting a person like that. You're expecting the Rebbe to be so grateful for this person that is supporting his movement. You know, is supporting his shaliach. But the Rebbe told him, "Don't expect me to be satisfied with that. This year you did 1 million, let's say. Next year you can do more." And that is the whole idea why we celebrate Tu B'Shvat in Chamishasa B'Shvat on the 15th day. The Rosh Hashanah Leilanot, the day of growth, on the 15th. Because that is here to teach us that no matter what we accomplish, no matter how full our moon is,
The Rebbe's
there
not
was
going to
always...
be impressed.
So I think the way that the Rebbe taught us is that there's always more room, there's always room to add, there's always room. We have a greater potential than what we might imagine. Sometimes we feel that what we can do is just the full moon. And the Rebbe comes and the Rebbe tells us, you know what, you can do a bit more. Rabbi Steinsaltz, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, he used to live not far from here. And he tells a very interesting yechidus that he had with the Rebbe. He had a few projects that he was working on. Now the projects of Rabbi Steinsaltz are really
Awesome.
massive, you know,
Awesome.
Serious projects. The explanation of the Talmud, other books that he wrote, the classes that he used to give. So he told the Rebbe that he's not sure which class or which project to give up on. He said he's got a full schedule and he wants to. He doesn't have enough time to do everything. He wants to give up on a certain project. So what did the Rebbe tell him? The Rebbe told him, add on another project. And he said that when he heard that, so he was astonished. And he tried it, and he saw that worked out. And that Rabbi Steinsaltz said like this. Rabbi Steinsaltz knew how to explain certain things, and he said he brought out a point that in the olden days the person lived in the shtetl, so he had 8 children, and he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment. And he came to his rabbi and he told the rabbi, listen, I can't. I'm living in such a small place. I've got a lot of children. What should I do? So he said, so the rabbi used to tell him, bring in
A donkey.
a donkey. Bring a donkey into your house. And he brings the donkey into the house. And then he comes after a week. Says that the house is falling apart. Everyone's going crazy. So the rabbi said, okay, now you can take it out.
No, bring
And
in a
since
goat.
then,
Chickens.
they lived ever happily afterwards because they saw, okay, I mean, things could always be worse, so this is something that we can cope with. The Rebbe did not say, bring in the donkey and then take it out again. What Rabbi Steinsaltz said is that the Rebbe said, you leave the donkey there inside. And sometimes, the way that he explained it is that a chomer, how do we say chomer? Material sometimes can change its format, and if there's huge quantity, sometimes when it changes its format, it changes its quality, and when it changes its quality, you find room also for that. So that was the way that he explained it. But this idea of the Rebbe is something that we can see and encourage. And there's another important thing, l'chaim. The Rebbe always said that when there's a mission, there is also a power and energy to take on this mission. Which means Hashem doesn't put us in positions, in places that we can't cope with, that we can't deal with. If Hashem gave us a certain mission, He gave us also the power to cope with that mission. So l'chaim, we should, first of all, this day of the acceptance of the Messias of the Rebbe, we get new powers from the Rebbe, we get new powers from the Eibishter to carry out our mission, and it's not yet complete. The Rebbe, as you spoke at the beginning, the Rebbe told us right at the beginning what exactly our mission is. And our mission is to bring Mashiach Dalamata. So l'chaim.
But now we all feel guilty. What are we supposed to do with that information?
Yeah.
Bring in the donkey.
I don't want to live with a donkey.
Gosh.
No, seriously. What are we supposed to do with that information? We're all guilty in that. Well, now whatever we do, it's never enough.
I'm feeling
However
very,
much you do more.
I'm very challenged.
So what are we supposed to take away from that?
We're gonna say L'chaim. That's how we'll.
I'm looking forward to my retirement. I'm just about to start. my
Exactly.
retirement. And yeah, I'll be
What?
soon. Another month and a half. I'll be 70 years old. And
The Erech Yavin
I
Shalom
don't
Tov.
I deserve it? Don't I deserve to retire? And I'm going to be living with a whole area called Achuzet Yonatan. It's a new place, 55 plus, nice and easy. And then you come along and tell me this.
What are we supposed to do with it?
Okay, I have to.
Hold on. You pour me some l'chaim. We're gonna work through this one because God willing, I'm about to be a grandfather soon, and I'm also sort of thinking the way you're thinking. Not quite yet. 15 years from now, but it's in the horizon.
First time?
Yeah.
Didn't we learn from Yaakov not to do that?
Huh?
We learned from Yaakov not to do that.
Huh?
Yeah. He got into trouble.
He thought he.
Yeah, but in the
What did it say?
Well, you forgot to add, Rabbi.
Yeah.
The most important part.
Farbrengen.
What
Not
did
a
you
lecture.
say?
The most important part of it is
It was the end of Egypt.
it's for your own
In
good.
the whole story, Yosef, that happened.
It's for your own good. It's not just however much you do, it's not enough. When you do more than you think you can do, you tap into an energy that's higher than what you think you can connect to.
Honestly,
That's just the kedusha. That's just the kedusha. Shtus the kedusha means you squeeze and you squeeze and you squeeze and you think you can't go anymore. And at that point something switches. And you tap into something that's higher than you ever thought you could ever touch. And you find yourself having abilities that you never knew you had. And it's for your good. Spiritually, physically, and in every way.
You're talking to somebody who last week had to do a 20-hour day non-stop just to get things done, without stop, from early in the morning till like quarter to 3 at night, and then 3 hours sleep, and then come back here.
Yeah.
And I ridiculous.
But the Rebbe says in the Maimer that there's two Maimer that we studied this year, of Chof Gimel and of Mem Gimel. So in the Maimer of Mem Gimel, the Rebbe says that he brings what Chazal say that V'yimaru es chayem b'chomer v'ilvenu b'chol avida b'sadeh. That when Am Yisrael was in Mitzrayim, they embittered our lives with making mortar and bricks and all the work in the field. So Chazal say that chomer, da kal v'chomer. What's the chomer? What's the mortar? That's when you learn the Gemara and there's a kal v'chomer. Levenim, bricks, what's that? Da libun hilchasa. That is clarifying the halacha. When you study a sugi on the Gemara, and there's this opinion, that opinion, back and forth, and then you do Rishonim and Dafrei, until you come to the halacha lamaisa. That's levenim, that's libun hilchasa. So the Rebbe says that we have to do all our struggle and all our work within Torah. So if you're reaching a place in your life when you don't have to work as hard physically, it doesn't mean that you now let up. It means that you transition and you put that same 20 hours a day into ruchnias, which is the only reason we were put in this world in the first place. The only reason we were put in this world is for Torah and mitzvah. But what happens? Al pi Torah, we have an obligation to bring parnasa to ourselves, to our family. Al pi Torah, we have to work, we have to pay the bills. But if God puts you in a position where you can retire, where you don't have to work, you don't have to work as many hours, now you have to take all that energy and even more and put it into Torah. And that's why the Rebbe established, one of the Rebbe's institutions was what's called Koilel Tiferes Levi Yitzchak. He named after his father, Levi Yitzchak. It's Koilel Tiferes Levi Yitzchak. The Rebbe said there's a horrible sickness in the Western world, which is a person, he's born, they put him in school to learn how to get a job. to train him for a job. He learns math, he learns science, he learns this. Why? So he could get into college. Why does he go to college? So he could get a good job. Why does he get a good job? So he could work. Why? So he can have a good retirement.
And play golf.
Then he reaches 65, 67, soon retirement will be 95 years old the way it's going. He reaches the age of retirement, and finally, everything that he did his whole life, he's reached it. So what's he do the first day? He gets home. He doesn't have to set the alarm. He wakes up at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock instead of 5, 6 in the morning, watches some television, goes and plays a game of golf, goes on a cruise, goes on a trip. After a year or two, there's no meaning to life. So when there's no meaning to life, what happens? His mind starts to deteriorate, starts to get dementia, starts to it's basically when a person retires, that's the beginning of their of the end. I don't want to say the word. It's the beginning of the end.
I have
That's
to
the beginning of
disagree
that.
with you.
You love retirement.
I've been retired 25 years.
But I guarantee you
I
that
have-
if you tell me your schedule, you're doing meaningful things every day.
I am expecting my 10th grandchild
So that's
this
different.
month.
Grandmothers are different because they have what to do.
Great-grandchild this month.
But what do grandfathers do? Grandfathers, they just work the kids up, get them all, give them candies, and then they give them back to the grandmother to deal with.
Absolutely not in today's world.
Grandmothers have a mitzvah. The mitzvah is to help with the grandbabies and everything. But if you're going to retire, it's not going to be good for you.
It will be excellent for him. He
Yeah,
will be
no,
able
no.
to do
I-
things that he couldn't do.
So the
before.
Rebbe established what's called Koilot Tiferes Levi Yitzchak.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Bet midrash,
People
we've got
who
a bet
retire, they should go every day to study
Oh
Torah.
yeah.
Sundays
Every
and
day they should go to
Tuesdays in
study Torah.
English.
You have it here?
I'm going to use
You have
this
it here. Very
opportunity
good.
to promote
Put a
it.
plug.
Sundays and Tuesdays in English between 10 and 12. Mondays and Wednesdays and Thursdays
But he's
in
moving
Hebrew.
somewhere else.
Yeah,
We have a
I
person
do-
that comes from Mitzpeh,
Yeah.
Mitzpeh Ramon.
Really?
He comes once a week. He
Mitzpeh
comes.
Ramon?
Yep. Mitzpeh Ramon.
It's a long bus,
I
right?
do
It
Mishnah
is.
Torah every day, but I haven't found a source in Israel for it. I have to get it from England.
In English, you mean?
Torah,
Mishnah Torah.
the Rambam.
In English?
Yeah.
I'll get
Get
it.
the
English.
Chayenu. The Chayenu
I
has
just
it.
can't find it. There is one.
They
but-
have the whole set right here.
No, I'm talking about online. Like I get it by
Yeah,
telephone.
Online, you have Chabad.org has it.
I don't mind it online. I mean, tell it by
Listening.
listening.
Ah,
Oh,
audio.
Rabbi-
Chabad.org has audio.
Rabbi Gordon has a very good
Classic.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a beautiful
I've been
story
going
to
to
share.
Please, please.
Happened to me this week.
Mhm.
So I went to an event that was a poetry and musical. Played some guitar there. But the woman who was hosting, her name is Rena Quint. I don't know if some of you know her.
Yeah.
It's got one chapter.
So Rena Quint,
Oh.
English.
during the Holocaust, was in concentration camps, and from age 3.5 to 9.5, she had 6 different mothers. Because the Nazis kept on killing the caregivers that were helping her. And she wrote a book about this, but now she has, I think the number is 47 great-grandchildren.
10 year old.
And that is one of the most amazing stories I ever heard of. So I wanted to share that.
And she lives in Jerusalem and she entertains people all the time.
She had 27, last
See, she
Shabbat,
keeps busy.
she had
keeps
27
busy.
non-Jews.
That's the
at her
important thing, is to
table
keep busy doing good things.
for Shabbat.
As long as you keep busy doing good things, but if you sit on the lounge chair every day in retirement and watch the television all day, or go on cruises all day,
No,
you could do a little of that, don't get me wrong, but if that's what you retired for,
Not happy. I just
What's the
picked up a
point?
second
What's the
high
point?
school that I'll be helping to teach English in.
Rakava.
So I'm excited about that.
Chaim l'chaim.
L'chaim.
Which nigga we're singing, Rabbi? some things for my friend David because he heard I'm Farbrengen here, and he came special. I know Rabbi David for quite a few years. He come to Shabbos Beersheba. So since he came here, I know he's going to try to run away in 20 minutes.
Not running away.
I have to say some things for him. If everyone else wants to go home, it's fine, but you may or may not find interest in it. But I have to tell him some things for him. And if anyone else benefits from it, Vashkacha Pratis, it's also good.
Fine.
Hand me a little L'chaim.
Should I make a L'chaim before that?
Yeah. You probably should. I don't get too nervous. It's all good.
Well.
Fine. I just like to see him sweat. It makes me feel good. This cold weather outside,
You're good at it.
everyone's freezing. I
You're good at it.
see the drip of sweat on his forehead. So one of the things that the Rebbe, so you see, the Rebbe is a paradox because on the one hand, the Rebbe, instead of running to Eretz Yisrael, running into closed-off communities, everything, what does the Rebbe do? He sends the shluchim out. He's not afraid of the world. He engages himself with everybody. He receives everybody. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what did the Rebbe fight for? What was one of the Rebbe's passions? What was his passion? When you see in the Rebbe's letters, the Rebbe's sichot, his biggest passion is chinuch al taharas hakodesh. To educate children, what the Rebbe always referred to is chinuch al taharas hakodesh. To educate the children only kodesh, only kodesh. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, the one who's so modern, who's so open-minded, who studied both in the University of Berlin and in the Sorbonne, who corresponded with physicists and with scientists and with philosophers and with everybody. What was his biggest passion? Chinuch al taharas hakodesh. The Jewish children should have an education where they learn nothing other than Torah.
So it was the aid of education.
What's that?
The Rabbi. It was the aid of education department of the Chabad.
The Rebbe wanted only Torah education, no other education. In fact, in Crown Heights, there were two school systems. There was one system called Lubavitch Yeshiva, where they studied in the morning Torah, in the afternoon math, English, whatever, basic, nothing too extensive, but the basic limudei chol, secular studies, that you would need to get to move on to high school, and then get your high school diploma, and so on and so forth. And the Rebbe refused to put his name on that system. The Rebbe established his own system of schools in Crown Heights called Olei Torah, the tents of Torah. And Olei Torah, it says on the letterhead, Tachat Nesiut Kvod Kedushat Admor Shlita, under the Nesiut, the presidency of the Rebbe, and he did not allow them to put that on the system of Lubavitch Yeshiva, because they studied their secular studies. Even though it was only in the afternoon, and only a limited amount, and even that was done within a Torah viewpoint, etc. The Rebbe would not put his name on something where any secular studies were studied.
That's extreme.
The Rebbe wanted only Torah studies. And there's letter after letter after letter, and sikha after sikha after sikha of the Rebbe about this. And the Rebbe says, you take a Jewish child, that Hashem himself wants to dwell in the brain of that Jewish child. Hashem himself wants to dwell in the brain of a Jewish child. What is a child? A child is innocent. All they think about is right and wrong, what's real, what's not real. They don't think about matters, cynical things. They're very pure. And in that mind, if you teach them only Torah, from the age of 0 till bar bat mitzvah, essentially they can suck up, it changes their mind. Their mind is built around Torah. And then after that, when they mature, no matter what will happen, their mind is built on the foundation of Torah. So the Rebbe says that a child Hashem wants to dwell in the mind of a Jewish child. And what do, says the Rebbe? You fill the mind with mathematics, with English, with this, with that. How dare you, says the Rebbe. The Sikha of the Rebbe is, how dare you? Who gives you the right to put in the mind of a Jewish child English, mathematics, grammar, and this and that? Not talking about bad things. Grammar is okay. English is, it's a language, right?
What?
But this is just an example. But over and over and over, this is the Rebbe's approach, and it seems very extreme. It seems very extreme. It seems like even in Meir Sharim, I don't know if everyone is quite that extreme like the Rebbe was about no secular studies whatsoever. So the same Rebbe who sent his people to go all over the world, and those boys and girls who studied in that system where the Rebbe even went so, those same people, that same Rebbe sent those people later to go deal with presidents, prime ministers, those kids who he raised them without any secular studies, he sent them to go reach out to people of the highest level, and they succeed. They succeed where nobody else succeeds. Okay? So this is a sort of paradox. This is a sort of paradox. And nevertheless, at the same time that the Rebbe had the Shita, in places where the local shluchim knew that by offering secular studies in their schools, they could attract Jewish children who would not go to a Jewish school, the Rebbe said, do it. Because even though I am against it, and even though this is the ideal, if you can bring in another Jewish neshama by offering secular studies, and in a situation where if you don't do that, those children will end up in public schools or non-Jewish schools or non-religious schools, I would rather that you should have some secular studies and get those kids in than to not have. But I would rather that you don't have it all. But the Rebbe says, but when you do that, you have to do it only in the last part of the day when the kids are tired and not paying attention. And the attitude of it has to be like we don't care about it. The attitude has to be that in the classroom where they study, the Rebbe says the attitude is what matters. In the classroom where they study Torah, everything should be clean and organized and all the best equipment and the best books and the best everything. And in the classroom where they study the secular studies, it should be a mess and it should be torn books, and the children should feel that nobody cares about it, that we do it because we have no choice. This is the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The same Lubavitcher Rebbe that people think, he's so modern, he's so open-minded, he's so... No, the Rebbe was the biggest extremist in the world. But because he was the biggest extremist in the world, he wasn't afraid of the world. He said, we will raise our children with only Torah, and those children will go to the places where no one else can go, and they will succeed.
Isn't that because in the Torah you find those tools that you need anyway?
Not because.
But
Hashem did not create a Jewish person to have tools. He created a Jewish person for Torah and mitzvahs.
Right. No,
Torah and mitzvahs.
100%.
For Torah and mitzvahs. So, mitzvahs are done with physical things.
Right.
Tzedakah is done with a coin that you don't steal it and you don't find it, you earn it through some productive thing you do. You earn it.
But I'm saying, for example,
so yes, you have to have the ability to be productive.
But I'm saying, for example,
But it's not that because the Torah tells us how to
do it,
add up numbers or whatever in a sugya in the Gemara in Bava Basra where it tells about property laws, and it's not that because of that we don't need to study secular studies. It's that it happens to be that it's true that you can find in the Torah literature most of the areas of knowledge that are in the secular world.
It's there already.
But even were it not the case, it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change anything.
Well, that's why.
Because the point is that the Rebbe's Shita was that a Jew is here for Torah and mitzvahs. A Jew is here for Elokus. A Jew is here to study Torah. And the way of the world thinks, first you take the child and teach them to have a parnasa, teach them to get along in the world, and then when they're older they'll study Torah. The Rebbe said just the opposite. The most crucial time, most crucial time is from 0 till Bar Bas Mitzvah. That's the most crucial time, when it must be only Torah. After that, if you have no choice and you have to introduce some secular studies,
that's why, because a lot of that they need at that age is there already. That's why you don't
So
need to do that
the
separate
fact
section.
is that we find that today, especially when the Rebbe said that in the 1950s, the Rebbe sounded crazy. You can see a sicha where the Rebbe says, "What I'm telling you is, take your child and give them over to a malamed with a long beard. He doesn't even know how to speak English. He doesn't even know how to speak the language of the country. And put him in front of that, but he lives with Torah and Yiras Shamayim. And let him, give your child to him, and let him raise your child. Let him educate your child." That's what I'm talking about when I say Altar HaKodesh. So, but nevertheless, what do we find? Go to all the Haredi neighborhoods in Muncie and Lakewood and Williamsburg, Crown Heights. Dafka, those kids who got no Torah, no secular education. Well, someone went to college, he became a doctor and he makes $300,000 a year, which is a very respectable amount of money. You've got a guy who barely knows how to read. He taught himself how to read when he was 18 years old. He opened an Amazon business, he's making $10 million a year on Amazon business. In other words, when the Rebbe said it in 1951, when the world was very structured, it sounded very crazy. Today it doesn't even sound crazy. Today, how much money you make actually has very little correlation to what type of education you got. Often your education can be an impediment to making money today because they lock you into a certain maslul, a certain path that limits where you're going to go, right? You specialize in something and that specialization has its limitations. Whereas if you didn't have that education, but you have your intelligence and you're a Jew and you're smart, and you learn Torah and you have the koyach of the Torah, then Hashem, with a little bit of work, can give you a lot of parnasa. L'chaim, l'chaim.
I have a question.
So I'm telling you, and I'm picking on you because I know I can pick on you, and all these other guys here who have kids.
That's the thing.
No, I'm picking on you because I don't know these guys. I don't know these guys. I know I can get away.
I was trying to figure this out. Like you're talking about echo chamber here.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm not accusing you of anything. I just know there's other guys here who have kids in school. I don't know where the kids are or what their wives think or what they think. I know I can pick on you and you'll still love me tomorrow and you'll still come for Shabbos to Rechavia, so I'm picking on you since you came. And maybe someone else who has this challenge will understand.
Rabbi, just to add to what
My name
you're
is
saying
Aaron, by the way.
about Chabad has one of the most advanced technological platforms for presenting Torah and Talmud to the world.
That's right.
And although they don't teach the secular education, but they utilize the tools that are available to us to be able to extend Torah education to the world.
But you know what? If you read the articles on Chabad.org, they use all these words that you never heard. You read it, you're like, where did they know that? Where did they think this word? You know why? Because they had a yeshiva education. They don't know how to speak English, so they work with the thesaurus all the time to sound sophisticated. So it comes out sounding very high and sophisticated because a normal person would use the words he has. But these guys who write the articles for Chabad.org, they went to Oile Torah. They don't know how to read English until they taught themselves when they were 18 years old. And immediately they discovered the online thesaurus. And before you know it,
it's a PhD degree. It's something like they have a PhD degree.
It's full of words that you never hear anywhere else that they dug out from the thesaurus.
And you can say shit.
You gonna make a Zoom or something?
I don't know if there's anybody else who's join.
What do you say? I always say that I always heard from Mashpiyim that you don't make a Zoom at a Farbrengen.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, or did I make that up?
Sure. No, that's correct.
Because last Shabbos I said it, someone got mad at me. The idea of not making a Zimun at a Farbrengen is the second you make a Zimun, and finish, then half the people stand up and walk out.
Do that.
By a Farbrengen, if you have to bench, you bench quietly, you sneak out. You don't announce that you're around it. Brokas, you still out there, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm here. Good. Like I said, it's an echo chamber. I'm still trying to figure this out.
Where are you putting your kids in school?
It's Chabad,
Which Chabad? Which?
Chachama.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then
that's the preschool there, right? Our daughter was in preschool.
They teach math in the afternoon?
What?
They teach math in the
To
afternoon?
the
They
5-year-olds.
do school. No, my kids are under 5,
Oh.
so it's Gan Chova.
Oh, don't get me wrong. In this,
So
in Be'er Sheva, the only Chabad school has some.
sure they have limits
I would
on it.
rather
They
that
have
they
to.
didn't. I would rather that they didn't.
But they have to.
And if there was a
otherwise they
school
won't
that had
they'll
without, I
go
would
to,
send them there.
Iranian school.
If there was a school that had without, I would send them there. But that's what there is. So, but what the Rebbe says, the
Right,
most
that's
important thing is the
right.
attitude. When the
Right.
kids come home and they say, Tati, I have a math test, I have to stay up late. I say, don't stay up late. As long as you get 61% and you pass, it's good enough. If they come home with an 80% on the Gemara test, I say, what's going on? Let's go over it. This can't be. One time you can get away with it, but you gotta do better. But on the math test, if they didn't fail, the Rebbe says also that you shouldn't teach them to be mevatel l'zman.
Right.
And it shouldn't. There was one place I saw a letter of the Rebbe. There was one
But
school.
if they're anyway learning it, should they not?
Of course.
Get
So
to know it and get a
there,
100?
there was one school where they had limudei chol, and they wanted to cancel it because they wanted to do what the Rebbe wants.
Right.
So the Rebbe or they want to make a track, let's say, for those kids whose parents want to do what the Rebbe wants, where they won't go to limudei chol. They'll only go to Torah studies. So the Rebbe said, if you will, for those kids, make an extended day of Torah studies, so that some kids continue with the math and the English, and some kids learn more Torah, I'm all for it. But if those kids will just go home early, I don't want, because the most damaging thing is to waste time, the Rebbe said. To waste time and to be left to their own devices is the worst thing you could do for children.
That's
Their
why in the
time
summer there's always
has to be filled from the time they wake up till the time they go to sleep. There has to be a structure, a framework
That's why even in the
of
summer it's
everything
supposed to
they
keep
do in
busy.
their lives.
Kids
They
are-
can't leave. You can't leave children to their own devices.
That's why even summer break he was always big about like kids being
Camps and everything. Yeah.
busy. And even there, there's
Yeshivas
not
Kayets,
busy.
yeah. Our Rebbe was an extremist. But it's the same extremism that says no secular studies is the same extremism that's not afraid of anything in the world. It's not afraid to send a shliach to any place in the world and to take, there was a story where I grew up in California, in the area of the Canal Valley, Agora Hills, if anyone's ever been, Calabasas, these areas. So, Chabad Lubavitch, over the years, sent shluchim. And when the Rebbe first sent shluchim, all the Haredi world was against it. They said, how dare this Lubavitcher Rebbe take a young couple, they just got married, maybe they have one baby, and send them by themselves to some far-flung place in Texas or in, some country in South America where there's no mikveh, there's no Rav, there's no minyan, no Sefer Torah. How does it take a chayes for such a thing? How are they going to go to the mikvah? Maybe they'll stop going. How they're going to daven with the minyan? How can you take a young Chassidish couple and do that? And the metzias we find is that it worked. This couple would show up with no funding, no Sefer Torah, no mikvah, no nothing, and within a year, all of a sudden, there's a mikvah there, there's a Sefer Torah there. 2-3 years later, there's a minyan, and before you know it, instead of that place swallowing them up, it actually goes the opposite, is that they conquer the place.
It's the mindset of going beyond nature.
So after 30, 40 years of the whole non-Chabad Orthodox world seeing this success, some of the non-Hasidic Litvish type of groups said, Chabad is having such success, maybe we should dip our feet in this pool. And this project as well, and we should do some outreach. And you started to get things like Eshet Torah and Or Sameach and other things that started to pop up. And it even went so far that the Lakewood Yeshiva came up with a project. They said, we need to send shluchim to start Torah communities. But they said, why did we always oppose Lubavitch? Because they send one couple. And how dare you send without a mikveh, without a minyan? We're going to send shluchim, but we're going to do it different. We're going to raise, let's say, $1 million to start a new place. We're going to rent a place for a shul / koilo. We're going to make sure there's a mikveh built there and a Sefer Torah. And we're going to send 10 couples. And they're going to have their salary covered for a period of time. And the first half of the day, the men will learn in Koilo, and the Minyan. And in the afternoon, they're going to deal with shlichus. They're going to go reach out to the Jewish community and try to do kiruv work. The first place that they sent was in California. They sent like this. They put 10 young Avreichim with their wives. They had a big flood, they had everything. Within a couple of years, half of them were not religious anymore. Within a couple of years, half of them were not religious anymore. They assimilated as a result of they couldn't handle the environment. The environment overtook them. And the rest went back to Lakewood. And they weren't the same as they were when they came. So what is the difference? What is the difference between what the Rebbe did and what these people did? What they did is normal. That's normal. That's normal. You want to spread Torah? Send a yeshiva. Send a kollel. That's normal. Normal, you get natural results. The natural results are when you take a person and you put them in an environment which is not a Torah environment, it's going to have a bad influence on them. What the Rebbe did was shtus d'kedusha. He took his people, he said, you're not going to have any secular education. You're not going to even know how to speak English properly. You're not going to know how to read and write properly. You won't have a mikvah and a sefer Torah, but you're going with Hashem.
And your kids won't have a school.
Your
kids are going to have to learn
going
online.
With Hashem.
They have to do.
Well, that's a new development online in the last 20 years or so. But before you didn't even have that. You're going to go, and you're going to know that you're responsible for every Jew under your jurisdiction.
You know how the Mavish was those schools? They were the dogma for everything that happened in COVID. Everybody's the Mavish can do a school online, and these kids are all stuck at home. If they can do it, we can do it. That was the model. So I understand.
There's a good story from a bunch of Belzer Hasidim went to an army base to give out donuts on Hanukkah and to light up the soldiers the menorah. So after they gave out the donuts and danced with the soldiers, they said, we would like to thank the Chabad Hasidim that came and celebrated with us. So the Belzer Hasidim said, no, we are Bells, we're not Chabad. So the soldiers said, Bells, Chabad, the main point is that the Rebbe of Lubavitch sent you. Thank you very much. So, that's the shlichus of the Rebbe. Chaim.
So this is what you were talking about before. The Rebbe always said, do more. It's not... But you have to be very careful not to take that the wrong way. It's not that the Rebbe is saying, I'm never happy with you. You know, some of us, our parents were never happy or whatever. You have people that they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on psychology bills. Why? Because whatever they did, their parents, instead of saying, I'm so proud of you, what a good job, they said, so what? And so they have an inferiority complex. That's not what the Rebbe is saying. It's not that the Rebbe is saying it's never enough. The Rebbe wants us to tap into the Ein Sof. And we have the ability. Every Jew has the ability to tap into the Ein Sof, into the infinite. And he wants us to do it. And the only way to do it is to push and push and push. And then when you push past where you think you can't push anymore, that's when you tap in. And that's the theme of the Maimer Basi Lagani. The theme of the Maimer Basi Lagani is Kad Iskafias Achra Stali Kikara de Kucha Bricho B'chul Almin. When a person pushes down the Yetzer Hara, pushes, then something magic happens. Istale Kikara de Kucha Bricho B'chul Almin. The glory of God spreads out in all the worlds. But it only happens when you push and push and push down against your nature. When you push against your nature, it happens. And regarding that, the Rebbe says the most unbelievable thing, which is, listen to this language of the Zohar. The Zohar says, when you bend down the Yetzer Hara, in other words, the Yetzer Hara wants to lift its head up, you push it down further. So when you do that, the glory of Hashem is mistalik in all the worlds. What's the word mistalik mean? Usually when we speak about mistalik, you say, mistalik mipo, get out of here, go away. You talk about a histalkut, someone's passing. It means they left the world and they went to the other world. But the Zohar uses the word in the opposite connotation. The Zohar uses the word istalik to mean it permeates down. When you push against the Yetzer Hara, the glory of Hashem actually permeates into all the worlds. So the Rebbe says that the day of the Histalkus of the Frierdiker Rebbe, we think the Yud Shevat, the Yom HaYilula, the Histalkus, we think it's the day the Rebbe went away from us. But it's actually quite the opposite. The day of Histalkus is the day that the Rebbe, the only word I can think of is a negative word, but the opposite of it's the day that it metastasized essentially. It spread everywhere. Instead of just being in one particular place, on Yud Shevat, the Frierdiker Rebbe entered into every part of the world. He permeated every part of the world. And it's the same with the Rebbe. And we see that the work that the Rebbe did, since the Histalkus, since the passing of the Rebbe, Kaviyachol on Gibel Tammuz, the Rebbe's work didn't stop. It wasn't mistalik in the sense of go away. It was mistalik in the sense of it went everywhere. It permeated everywhere. That today, there's no place where people aren't connected to the Rebbe. There's no place. L'chaim, l'chaim.
You know, what you're talking about, the Rebbe really reminds me of the Parsha with the wall of fire that follows people, you know? And it seems like faith in the Rebbe a lot of times carries the shluchim, and when they have success, in the natural world, it's their faith in the Rebbe. I don't know, I just wonder maybe.
Vayaminu b'Hashem u'b'Moshe Avda. Baruch Yeh.
Thank you so much for sharing all the stories.
Yeah.
There's one story I heard this week from a recording of Farbrengen with Rebbe Leibel Groner, the Rebbe's secretary. And the story goes like this. There was a young man who heard about the Rebbe's, he was a chassid of the Rebbe. He grew up in a Lubavitcher family. And he knew that the Rebbe is against secular education, and especially against college. And he decided he doesn't care. I want to go to college. He had a path that he wants to embark on. He wanted to study a certain area, and he wanted to make something of himself, as they say. So he decided he's going to go to college anyway, despite what the Rebbe says. So but being that he grew up as a chassid, and he didn't want to do it behind the Rebbe's back, or he didn't want the Rebbe to find out through a third party. He wanted to be on good terms. So he decided. He wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and in the letter he wrote the following. He said, I've had the great honor to be your chassid. I've gained so much from the Rebbe, and I know the Rebbe's position about college, and I've decided to take a different path. So I can't be a chassid anymore. I've decided to take a different path and going to college. And he's basically writing a goodbye letter to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe wrote back to him that when there's a connection between two people, that connection never goes away. And you may try to dissolve that connection, but I will never dissolve the connection, the Rebbe said. No matter where you will go, and no matter what you will do, I will be connected to you. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, or whether you want to embrace it or not, I will be connected to you. That's the love that the Rebbe had for every Jew. The Rebbe had a love for every Jew, that he was concerned with every Jew's personal, individual situation. And it didn't matter how far someone strayed or how low they sunk. The Rebbe never gave up on anybody. The Rebbe never gave up on anybody. And the Rebbe always was looking for the point to connect and to lift somebody up. He was always looking for their individual. If a person found themselves far away from Torah and mitzvahs, But the Rebbe would find the way that because of the position that they now find themselves in, they maybe have access to people that they can influence to come closer to Torah that someone else wouldn't have the access to those people. So Rebbe would say, obviously, you would never tell someone to distance themselves, but now where you are, you have the ability to do something that never could have been done before. Like what Chazal say, in the place where Bali Tshuva stand, even Tzaddikim and Gemurim can't stand. That doesn't mean we would ever say Chas v'Shalom to someone, go sin so you could be a Bali Tshuva. God forbid, if you do that, then in Mesapki and the other last is Tshuva, then Hashem makes it very hard for you to do Tshuva. But after the fact, if somebody finds themselves, whatever position, the Baal Shem Tov said that wherever you are right now, whatever set of circumstances you bring to the table, since Hashem is constantly recreating the world every moment, that means that right at this moment Hashem created the world. And if right at this moment He created the world, He created you right now with your whole past, with all your successes and all your failures. The entire package that you come with right now, that's not a mistake. That's Hashem created it right now. What you're going to do right at the next moment, that's where your free choice comes in. The next moment is in your hands. But what was just created by Hashem. So if it was just created, there is no other possible way after the fact. But you have to look at that package. It's like they used to have those shows. What was that, Mission Impossible? That they like started out, okay, this is your mission, and you get a file. Okay, you have to go do this and go do that, and you have to take on this persona, and you have to, this is the tools that you have, you know, this is your weapon, this is and now, okay, you got the file, how do I move forward? Each one of us is in that situation. Right now, Hashem recreates us. Right now, Hashem issues us a file and says to us, look at it over and do the best you can with it. So that was how the Rebbe saw every Jew. So l'chaim, guys, we should not take for granted what we have, that we have the connection to the Rebbe. The Rebbe says in the letter of Yud Shevat, the Yud Shevat is a day for every person who's from Chasidim, from the students of the yeshivas, and everyone who's even, the word the Rebbe says, is shaykh to the Rebbe, belongs to the Rebbe. That could mean you're not a Talmim who learn in Tomchitzim, you're not a Chassid, you're not a Sheh, and still you call it shaykh to the Rebbe, you belong to the Rebbe. So anyone who's here, we're here because we belong to the Rebbe. So l'chaim. La Tell me, what do you have to say?
To say?
Three doubles here.
There's 3 Davids here.
At least.
Which one are you talking to? 1, 2.
I only know this guy. The rest of you guys, I hope to know you soon. But David, okay, you know, it's Barachol Bitzcha Atan. David, Yoshua, Salvador, Baroka. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's this guy.
Since you insist. What do you have to say about the Rebbe?
Let's say about the Rebbe. Wow. I was not ready for this part.
All right, I'll let you think a little while.
Give me a little bit. Give me a minute.
I already embarrassed you before.
Three of us together in 20 years.
Yeah. Say that.
I learned from the best mashpiyim in the world that the most important part of a Farbrengen, whoever's singing the Farbrengen has to say a few words, but after that he has to find someone and pick on them. But you have to
always being mean.
But you have to pick on someone who will forgive you afterwards.
With you,
know, because otherwise, if you pick on one person, then you're really picking on everybody, and they're just a proxy, and then nobody's insulted too much. You have to find the right one to pick on. There is like the Rabbi was saying before. There's 2 things today. It's Yud Shevat. It's the day that Frierdiker Rebbe passed away, but it's also the day our Rebbe became Rebbe. But really, the Rebbe speaks in the Sichas, especially of the last years, that the main day where we commemorate when the Rebbe became Rebbe is Yud Aleph Shvat, the 11th of Shvat. So Yud Shevat is the passing of the previous Rebbe, and Yud Aleph Shvat is the first full day of the 7th generation as a Rebbe, first full day. So, and the Rebbe goes into great length about what does it mean Yud Aleph Shvat, and it's unbelievable because anyone who ever read any even very basic books about ideas of Kabbalah is familiar with the idea that it says in Sefer Yetzirah that Yud Aleph 11 is not a good number. It's a number of Tumah. It says in Sefer Yetzirah, Eser v'lo Tesha, Eser v'lo Echad 10 and not 9, 10 and not 11. There are 10 spheres, not 9 spheres, and not 11 spheres, because if you have 9, it's like you subtracted from Hashem's Kedusha. If you have 11, it's like you added, either way. You don't add and you don't remove from the system that Hashem made. So, and yet, the Rebbe talks about the greatness of the number 11. And if you notice, what day was the Rebbe born on? The 11th of Nisan. Nisan. And what day does the Rebbe become Rebbe? The 11th day of Shvat, which is the 11th month of the Hebrew calendar. Adar is the 12th, and then Nisan is the 1st. 11th day of the 11th month on the year Tafshin Yud Aleph, right? Which is also 11, Yud Aleph, 11. 11, 11, 11. It's a chazaka of 11. And the Rebbe was born on 11.
I never realized that.
So the Rebbe talks about the greatness of the idea of 11. And the Rebbe says, what does it mean, 11? Every Friday in the Nusach of Chabad and also in some other Sidurim, and in other Sidurim, sometimes they have it in other places, but we have what's called Pasach Eliyah. We read Patach Eliyah, which is from the Tikkunei Zohar. Patach Eliyah V'amar L'boin Alman Antu Chad V'loi B'chushpat. Master of the worlds, you are one and you're not counted. You are one and you're not counted in the counts. Antu Dafikas Aser Tikkunin V'kriyan Loin Aser Sfiran. You emanated 10 Tikkunim, 10 rectifications, and you call them 10 spheres. So the Rebbe says, what is 11? That's the Chad V'loi B'chushvan. It's the one which is not counted in the 10. So if 11 is part of the spheres, if you say instead of 10 spheres there's 11, that's Klipa. That's what Sefer Yetzirah is saying. 10 and not 9. Guys, these chairs are made for skinny people. Someone's going to collapse soon. 10 and not 9. 10 and not 11. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Chad V'loi B'chushvan. And when you tap into the essence of Hashem, then you have the level of the 11. And then 11 becomes the number of Kedusha. And so the Rebbe says that the message of Yud Aleph Shvat, the 11th day of Shvat, is the message of that the the accomplishment of the seventh generation is to bring the revelation of the essence of Hashem in the world. And that is accomplished by the level of 11. The Chad V'loi B'chushbam, the one who's not part of the 10. And so once again you see how the viewpoint of the Rebbe about everything was to go straight to the essence, straight to the deepest place, the place of revealing. Of all the Rebbes, if you learn the Chassidus of the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, all the Rebbes, the terms Atzmus Amuhus, the essence of God, you'll find it very rarely, very sparsely used among all the Rebbes. Our Rebbe uses it in every other mimer, every other sikha, Atzmus Amuhus, that we're going to bring down God's deepest and truest essence. Our Rebbe talks all the time about Yechida Shebenefesh, the essence of the Jewish soul that connects to Yechida Shebetorah, the essence of the Torah, which is Chassidus, which connects to the Atzvus Amalus of Hashem. Our Rebbe is talking about it in every other mimer and every other sikha. This is the point of the Rebbe, and that's what the Rebbe was saying before, that the Rebbe it was never enough. But it's not that it's never enough because the Rebbe is disappointed in us, or because the Rebbe, doesn't care that we did so much. It's because the Rebbe wants for us something that we can't even imagine. He wants for us something that we can't even imagine. And his job as the Rebbe is to connect us to it. Like they say that that some people make followers and the Rebbe made leaders. The Rebbe didn't want us to be followers. He wanted every Jew to be a nuclear power plant of Kedusha. And we have that ability. Because if you're a Jew, you have a Chelek Elokah. You have a Nefesh Elokis. The Rebbe wanted to connect us to it, and that is the seventh generation. That is the Dira B'Tachtoinim, the dwelling of Hashem in the world. That is the making of the Mishkan. That is the turning over the Shtus of Klippa to the Shtus of Kedusha. And when we complete that, then even though Chabad Lubavitch didn't come here to Yerushalayim, the Rebbe didn't want to bring Chabad Lubavitch to Yerushalayim. He wanted to bring the whole world to Yerushalayim. But to do that, he had to go to the lowest place, to America. What's called the Chatzi Kader Atachta, in the bottom half of the world, the half where Matan Torah never reached. It's like when Matan Torah happened in Har Sinai, it goes around the globe till the halfway point, and then it keeps spreading out. They can't wrap back around, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So the Rebbe said that the source of Torah went to the bottom of the world. So the Torah could be given also in the bottom half. But by doing that, the Rebbe says when you lift something from the bottom, you lift the top also. The Rebbe wanted to lift the whole world, all of Am Yisrael and the whole world. So while other Hasidic groups, they ran here to Yerushalayim, the Rebbe went to America but never forgot about Yerushalayim for a moment. There are stories of people high in the Israeli government who would go for Yechidus with the Rebbe. And they would, the Rebbe would say to them, "Where do you live?" And they'd say, "I live in Yerushalayim." And the Rebbe would say, "I know, but where? In which neighborhood?" "Oh, I live in Rechavia." "But on which street?" "Oh, on this street." "Do you live on the top of the street or the bottom of the street?" And they'd look at the Rebbe like he's crazy. "No, I live in number this." "Ah, so your neighbor is this one, right? And you live across the street from the park." The Rebbe knew, he was never in Eretz Yisrael, but he knew exactly every neighborhood, every yeshiva, every park. The Rebbe knew exactly. The Rebbe was here more than if he was here. He was here. I'm a tour guide, and believe me, the Rebbe knew his way around much better than I know, and that's my business to know how to get around. The Rebbe knew exactly what was going on here, and the Rebbe was here. But the Rebbe wasn't happy to come here himself. He had to lift the whole world to get here. Once he could lift the whole world to come here, then he'll come here at the end of it.
There's even a Baba Sali story. Someone came up to him and argued with the Baba Sali. "What's this deal with you with the Rebbe? Why do you have such a kesh with the Rebbe? He's all the way in America. Why isn't he here in Eretz Yisrael?" And he said, I remember if I might be mashing the answer, but it's the he said that the world wasn't ready for him to come here because he still has what to do over there, and if he comes here, then it's all over. And like he still had what to do. Going around to what you were saying, the Gula will be here already.
The way I saw it written, it was brought in the Sefer of Rabbi. The story is correct, but the detail that I saw written is that the Baba Sai said that it says the Pnei Moshe Pnei Chama, Pnei Yoshua Pnei Levana. Moshe's face was like the face of the sun. Yoshua's face is like the face of the moon. And since Eretz Yisrael is compared to the moon, in the time of Golos, if Moshe would come, he would embarrass Eretz Yisrael. Only once Eretz Yisrael is ready for the Gula, then Moshe can come. And he says the same thing with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The same thing with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Only once the Gula is ready, then the Lubavitcher Rebbe can.
The Baba Sali asked the Rebbe, he wanted to move to the States, to New York.
Baba Sali told him no. I know the Rebbe told him no.
The Baba Sali wanted to run away.
He wanted to.
He wanted to run away. He said, when I'm here, people are lining up all day. They're driving me crazy. I have no time to learn Torah. I have no time to daven. If I can come to you, and I will live in your neighborhood, I'll find a quiet place where no one will know who I am over there because I don't speak Yiddish, I don't speak English. I'll find some place, and I'll do whatever you tell me. I will follow you and do whatever you tell me. There's a letter, you can see the letter that he sent to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe said, you're an ish klali. You're a general person who other souls depend on you. And you can't run away from your task.
He used to go every year, I think, with the month of Elul to Brenua, to the yeshiva in Brenua, and learn the Chassidus.
Before he came to Israel, yeah.
That's before he came to Israel?
Yeah, when he was a young man, he used to hide for months at a time in the yeshiva in Brenua, learn the Kutei Torah and whatever, to get away from Morocco, where everyone knew who he was and drove him crazy.
Yeah. Sidna Baba Sali.
How did the letter was spread around on social media recently. There was one post that went viral, the letter that the Baba Sai wrote to the Rebbe and the letter that the Rebbe wrote back to him. And the Baba Sai writes to the Rebbe a letter that in the introduction he uses terms that I've never seen anywhere before. But he basically says the tzaddik from whom the whole world receives their nourishment. He calls the Rebbe like the foundation of all of the world. The one who all the world depends upon, essentially. If you Google it, you'll find the letter. It's all over the place lately. Chaim l'chaim. David, you have a good for us. It's a mimer, Nigun. You're going to say mimer, or am I going to...
Okay, sorry. It was just the first one I thought.
It's good that that's the nigun that's in your tongue. It's a good nigun. It's the nigun of the Rebbe Rasha. la 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 la.